In the Pits is partnered with QBR. Are you seeking to heal and recover from the toll that paintball puts on the mind and body? QBR has the solution for you. Head to QBRofficial.com and use code PITS10 for 10% off of your order plus free shipping. QBR, they don't sell broccoli. In the Pits is partnered with Mariachi Águilas de Oro. Based in Austin and servicing the surrounding areas, these golden eagles will bring life to any event you are having, from birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, corporate events, or even a simple performance to enjoy. Guillermo Padilla, one of their trumpet players, is also a member of the Texas paintball scene. Visit them on Facebook and Instagram to check out some of their past performances, or give them a call to book them for your event today. In the Pits is partnered with 71 Designs. Owned and operated by veteran Wade Martin, and partnered with fellow Texas brand Compete. 71 Designs can take your ideas for soft goods, merchandise, and casual wear and make them a reality. Message 71 Designs on Facebook or Instagram to get started today. In the Pits is partnered with Hydra. Designed by players for players, you can outfit yourself in Hydra gear from head to toe. Have confidence that when you make a purchase from Hydra, you are purchasing a well-tested and well-thought-out product, trusted by several top teams, including first-place semi-pro team, PaintballFit.com. I personally recommend their Hydra Black knee pads. Purchases over $100 receive free shipping. Head to hydra.fit to browse their selection and discover the Hydra mentality. In the Pits is partnered with XTPL Events. The Extreme Tournament Paintball League is a series put on by the Lukow family of Paintball Fit fame that gives the opportunity for players to learn and grow together as a team. 3-man, Challengers and Champions X-Ball, Draft Mech X-Ball, and even Youth 3v3. There's something for everyone at XTPL. Not to mention prize tosses, raffles, and the infamous paintball munching contest. Events happen throughout the year, and the prizes never disappoint. Sign up for an XTPL event today on PB Leagues. In the Pits is partnered with TexanHemp.com, locally shipped cannabis seeds. In a world where saving time means making money, TexanHemp.com, a local cannabis seed bank owned and operated by local Texas pro player Jared Sherman, is making waves by becoming the go-to source for all cannabis genetics in Texas. Carrying a large assortment of cannabis cultivars, including Texas-approved varieties for use in the Texas Hemp Program, high THCA seeds for novelty use, as well as premium genetics bred for solventless extraction, TexanHemp.com has the ability to satisfy even the most sophisticated collectors. Head to TexanHemp.com and use code INTHEPITS for 10% off of your orders. In the Pits is partnered with BEM Wraps. Behind every mask is a unique and creative player. Tap into it when you order your next custom headpiece. Their Build-A-Band lets you communicate with them one-on-one to make your order just the way you want, all the way down to the color of the stitch. Check out their Instagram at BEMWraps for drops and build videos of them working on orders. They offer very competitive pricing, so reach out today to get started on your own one-of-a-kind headpiece. In the Pits is partnered with Compete. Compete is a Texas-based brand by Jell Stewart of professional team AC Diesel that provides custom jerseys, pants, headbands, straps, tech shirts, and any other soft goods to help individuals and teams compete at the highest level. Support Texas Paintball and message Compete on Facebook or Instagram and mention In the Pits Podcast for 10% off your entire order. In the Pits is partnered with the San Antonio 3v3 Paintball Series. The series provides local players with an affordable, fun opportunity to experience the excitement of tournament paintball. Visit SAT3PB.com for details on upcoming events. In the Pits is partnered with Get Dat Shot. Get Dat Shot is now scheduling photo and reels coverage for teams competing in the upcoming NXL Windy City Major. Head to GetDat_shot on Instagram to check out his previous work or to shoot him a message to secure your media coverage today. In the Pits is partnered with Paintball Kumite. Paintball Kumite is a program designed by Colt Roberts of professional team San Antonio X Factor to take paintball players of all ages, experience levels, and skill groups and mold them into champions. The program breaks the game down into small, easy-to-learn sessions designed to help you master the fundamentals so that you can elevate your game. Newcomers to the program get a free 1-hour introductory class when mentioning In the Pits. To sign up for a class, message at Paintball Kumite on Instagram. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 126 of In the Pits Paintball Podcast. This podcast is focused on everything that has to do with the paintball scene here in Texas, from professional players and teams to new divisional programs, local tournament series, field owners, Texas-based brands, even photographers and videographers. Every week, we'll have a short and sweet episode with a new topic and new special guest. I'm Christian Dallas Smith. I'm a player for the Texas Titans. In this episode, we are hosting a roundtable discussion with several fantastic photographers and videographers from our sport. So we're just going to get started right away. This first one brought to us by XTPL Events. Let's go ahead and start with Ryan. So for those listening that maybe don't know about you, go around. We're going to introduce ourselves, our handles that we go by, and then your primary focus behind the camera, whether it's photography, videography, reels, etc.
All right. Well, what's up, guys? Mafia Moffat over here. A lot of people either will know me for my reels on Instagram or other short form platforms, TikTok, Facebook, all that stuff, the YouTube shorts as well. And then as well as the podcast From the Sidelines over there. Most of my content now is the podcast, so about 2 hours of that every single week. We just started doing some extra stuff as well, about a 30-minute extra show on the Patreon. So yeah, doing a lot of that recently, but getting back into video down here in Texas, have a film to go back to. So yeah, it's been fun. Don't really touch photo anymore. Did that a bit a couple years ago, but decided to focus more on the moving photos.
Sweet. I'm just going to go clockwise here on my screen. So Brian, you're up next.
All right. What's up? I'm Brian Wolf, or Verbhal, Verbhal. These days I focus primarily on video. I got my start doing video the hard way. I was taking photos and then I turned it into videos, and you had to find, music and all this stuff. But,
psychopath.
Yep, it was insane. But now I just do traditional video for the most part, but I'll snap a few photos every now and again. So yeah, happy to be here.
All right, Dan, you're up next.
Yeah, I mean, before I go, it's always cool seeing Verbal whip out his little photo camera and being like, oh, he's about to take something cool. So that's awesome. But hey, everybody, my name's Dan Shelley. I go by Shellda Photos. Obviously, I take photos. I tried video for a little bit, and kind of like Verbal said, it was just a beast. I wasn't passionate about it, so I jumped back to the photo side of it. And similar to Mafia, I'm kind of dipping my feet into the podcast world. So I've recently started a podcast called the Shellda Podcast.
122 weeks before you can say you're similar, all right? Even Christian can say the same thing. So, yeah, you're dipping the toe in.
Dipping the toe, right? You got to start somewhere, though.
Exactly.
But yeah, mainly photos is my thing.
Yeah, hold up. So, Ryan, I know in your show you've been bragging a lot of how you were the first one to have any of the paintball fit guys. What episode was the earliest episode that you had any of the fit guys? Because I've got Colt Lukow at episode 14.
I mean, I have to go back, but we're early days into it as well. He was one of our first guests on the show because I know Matt was the first guest at episode 10, but it's somewhere around there. So, yeah, go John.
Okay, yeah, we'll have to.
Flow, but yeah, we'll have to
no, yeah. If you're gonna be calling Dan out like that, then I gotta be coming in here too. So
I'm only in episode 3, so I can get him next week and beat it all.
All right, John, you're up next.
So guys, John from Ruthless Paintball. So everything's just at Ruthless PB. So my main focus right now is photos. I'm starting to get back into video. That's what I started doing back in 2012, and obviously reels are the way. Photos don't really get too much notice anymore, but I just love capturing the moment, and I feel like photos is kind of the easiest and most simplest way to do that for us right now.
All right, and then Adon.
Hi, so my name is Alan Guerra. I go by AFG Filmings. I focus more on, I'm in between both, just pictures and videos. Mainly now you see more of my footage out there with collabing with USXPA or WC. But yeah, I try to stay mostly, in video, tip my toes, like in the pictures once in a while, try to perfect that. But for the most part, you're probably going to see more footage of me coming up.
All right. So I like how, we've got 5 very talented camera workers here. Each of y'all have very different experience and scope that you're working with, whether it's with focusing on content in the NXL or local regional leagues, or even shooting content for like paintball companies, or you're doing your own thing, or even like photos. Like I know a couple of you guys have submitted stuff to Gap or have done other magazines in the past. I know like Ryan, you've done some shooting for some various paintball projects out there. So like the experience here is pretty substantial. So I'm hoping that whoever's listening out there, whether they're live or listening after the fact, is going to be able to take away something from this. Lots of people here in the chat. If you have the chat pulled up, lots of guys in here. Last row, Shaka Shots, new up and coming guy in San Antonio. So yeah, if you guys got any questions to ask any of our experts here, go ahead and get them in. We'll get to them throughout the show. So this next question is brought to us by QBRofficial.com. What was it that inspired each of you to get behind the camera lens for paintball? We'll start with Brian on this.
So I had just started playing again in like 2018, I think it was. I came back to paintball and started playing some D5 tournaments and stuff, and I was having a great time. And then I was like, at that point I was a pretty decent photographer already. I was like, I bet I could do this. So I started doing some photos, and they came out really good. I was like, okay, this is doable. It definitely throws some kinks into things as opposed to shooting traditional sports. But I thought I could do this, and I started really enjoying it. So I primarily started with photo, and then as the cameras got crazier, I picked up a Sony A9 II, and I was like, well, now I'm shooting 20 frames per second. This kind of looks like video. It had a kind of a different look because the 20 frames, like that's not a normal frame rate you're used to seeing. So it was like kind of like, whoa, what is this? So I started doing videos that way, and then as I saw the shift in everything, that's how I got into video. So yeah, I just thought it was something I thought I could do well at it, and that has kind of been the case. So yeah, I just and it was a way to get to the field and be with your friends and not spend $100 on paint too, because as you go through the paintball adventure, you'll see some people who don't necessarily want to play all the time, but they love the community and will be there, and they will find a way to be there with their friends. And especially as an adult, middle-aged dude, like what are you gonna do, go to the bar and make friends? Like that's not it's so yeah, it's a huge community thing on my end.
For sure. All right, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good segue for me. I moved to Austin, Texas during COVID, and I missed community. Like I used to be huge into the disc golf scene in North Carolina, and then before that, paintball. And I didn't have a community down here. And I found out, Outlaw Paintball is literally on the same road that I live on. And so I started out to, go try to play with the notorious lower lines, and realize, man, this is, one, it's really expensive. Two, I don't have enough heating pads to like lay down for when I come home after the field. So I decided to pick up a camera and still find a way to stay involved in it. And Brian, it's spot on. It's community for me. That's what brings me there every weekend. And I love being around the guys so much. And same thing at events too.
All right, John.
So when I grew up, it was impossible to get photos, and that was one of the things. Like the second I got promoted and actually started making money at a regular job, I went out and bought a camera because I was like, all right, me and my buddies are gonna have some sick photos, and that's what got me hooked. So like my whole idea is it's really hard to tell people about paintball, and the best way is to show them. So like the more like photos or anything like that we have going out there is like the best thing possible for us. So like when I first started doing it, it was super long, raw, just practice photos, or at the time in Florida, it was Central Florida Paintball Series. which is basically what like MVPS is now. And I just started doing that in between like playing points. If I was playing an event, I would try to do it in between points there as well. And then from there, it just kind of like turned into actually like the whole company that I have it now.
Sweet. Adon?
All right. So basically, from where I'm at, from Florida, from Weekend Warrior Paintball, when I started playing, it was in my middle schools, and like once I got to high school, it started getting more expensive, and then when I came to college, it got expensive. But when I was in Weekend Warrior back in Laredo, my hometown, I realized that we don't have a media guy over here showing off the skills or what we're doing over here or what it's possible to do, like from a small town. So I was the one that like initially got into it with like my mom's camera, started off doing that. And then once I got more into it, I picked up another camera, A6000. And then from there, I went to college. And then, you know what, I'm going to invest a little more because, college and spending money in paintball is like very expensive. So I invested more into the photography side. And so I can still stay around paintball. And like, yeah, it's just like, it's amazing. You could show other people, like how they said, you can show people what paintball is without having to actually verbally say it. It's just, it's an amazing thing to show.
For sure. And Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, it's a winding story, and it starts back quite a ways. I was one of the kids who jumped in the sport right in the dead years, right after the boom and crash of the 08, 09, 010 seasons, when it started to get really scary. If you know what true semi is, you lived through some dark times in paintball history. But while I was there, I was a little broke kid. I didn't have money to go play at the field. There was a friend I had who was a little bit older, had a car. So every, month or so, I'd be able to go join with him, buy a case and use my e-tech and have some fun. But a majority of my exposure to the sport was through paintball videos on PB Nation's YouTube or on YouTube. Yeah, Paintball Nation's YouTube channel. There was a couple other sites back in the day I remember that you'd use a lot that have just all shriveled up at this point. But yeah, so I would watch those old docs, the random vlogs and stuff that would come out at that time. If you look back today, they all really kind of suck in hindsight, but they were amazing at the time. And a lot of the more produced stuff. So obviously the fuck, I got it right in front of me, but all the serial killer stuff, any of the push monkey with a gun, any of that type of stuff was all really well done. But those were kind of sprinkling in on YouTube, and so I'd be able to watch some of the older videos. And so going into high school, I was really interested in film and all this stuff in YouTube. So I started, took a class in freshman year, learned the basics of how to open Premiere and use it and all this stuff. Applied for the sophomore year class and was denied. Pretty much since then, I've been pissed off at that teacher, and I've been trying to prove him wrong that I actually have some talent in this shit. But what that led to is out of high school, I got picked up on a production job doing film and photo work for dance competitions. So I would sit at the back of an auditorium and shoot photos and videos for anywhere from 8 to some of the days were as long as 12 to 13 hours where you're just standing all day. There was weekends I was shooting 40,000 shots in a weekend on a camera. They were brutal events, but they teach you really quick how to fucking get your exposure right when you're taking that many photos in a weekend. And so that's why, we'll get to it later, but yeah, you just do something a lot, you get better at it. And through that, I learned a lot of skills. 2017, got the opportunity randomly. It's a funny connection. One of the guys I danced with growing up was best friends with a former pro player, Avenir Vitakov, and through that connection, I got invited out to a random 3v3 event at Capital Edge. Went there, filmed that, and pretty much jumped right in, filmed the Road to Cup stuff with Sacramento DMG semi-pro at the time, filmed them winning their spot at 2017, and then went away, had to go do other things in the sport. 2017 or 2020 COVID, came back in, kind of jumped in hardcore then, came back, and I've been here ever since.
Awesome. Yeah, lots of people in the chat are very excited about some of they definitely resonate with some of the stuff that's being said here.
Yeah.
Yeah. where's the one? They said, yeah, Shaka Shots, who's another media guy here in San Antonio area, says true semi G's bring back the W. No. I just want to make sure that's out there now. No.
Yeah, no, W was fun though. You just know you go up there, you trade out with your guy. It's an easy job. That's why I liked the W. There's people in this chat who don't even know what the W was.
Right.
So that's sad too.
Yeah.
It wasn't even that long ago.
It wasn't. I mean, if you, my favorite are the guys that say bring back the W and at the same time complain about why they have to wear chin straps. And I'm like, the W is the reason that you have to wear chin straps. So you can't.
You want to die?
Yeah, you can't have one without the other. So moving forward, this next one's brought to us by the San Antonio 3v3 series. So let's talk about y'all's rigs that you're running. So what are each of you running? Bodies, lenses, software. Let's include editing software in there as well. And then why is it that you've chosen that specific setup? So Dan, let's start with you.
So my current setup is the Sony A1 for the body, and then the lens is a pretty common paintball photo lens. It's the 70-200 f2.8. I think it's the Mark II, so it's a little bit lighter. That's right, G-Master, yeah.
Gangster mode.
And for editing software, I'm an Apple guy in and out. So I've been in Lightroom since I started. I think it's one of the easier things to use.
All right, John.
So believe it or not, I stopped buying expensive cameras because I kept getting them ruined because of paintball. So I actually just rock an M50 Mark II. So it's a mirrorless entry-level camera. It actually does a pretty decent job for most of the stuff just going on social media. I always just slap a 70-200 on there, like the guys are saying, the most common lens you're going to see in paintball. As long as you have a decent lens on a decent camera, the photos are pretty decent. So, you're getting what you want.
All right. And then what software do you use, John?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Lightroom.
All right. Adon?
So I'm like Dan Shellda, uses the A1. It's an amazing camera. It's 50 megapixels. I mean, it's the most megapixels. As lenses are very common, the 70-200 and the Tamron 35-150, which I'm kind of liking the 35-150 at the moment. But yeah, for programs, I use Lightroom. I think it's amazing, very durable. But I use Windows. I cannot agree with Shellda with the Mac part. I used to run Mac, but not anymore. I don't know. My computer would die.
Man. I mean,
Mac, Windows, Yankees, LA. Like you and I are just complete opposite on everything.
All right, Ryan.
Yeah, I figured I'd go grab it real quick because it's literally sitting right next to me. But I'm using a Lumix GH6 currently. The reason I shoot on Lumix, not Sony, I probably would shoot on Sony. I've just had Lumix lenses because I had the GH5 before this. So for me, it's kind of made sense just to stay in the family. This shoots 4K, 120 with audio, all the great things. It's got 10-bit audio, or 10-bit audio, 10-bit color on it. Pretty much all the good things you get from the Sony, just different manufacturer. Looks a little bit different, but I mean, let's be real, you can give me anyone's camera, it's gonna be fine. At the end of the day, what comes down to it, the nicest thing is having that 4K 120. So when you throw it into Premiere is what I use and edit it, you just have a lot more options to either crop in, grab different angles, different shots that are in those your original framing, and then also the 120, you get a slow stuff 10 and you get to play with it. And with paintball especially, that always is nice to have. Sometimes extending a moment can really be nice, even if it's not like someone getting hit or something. Just being able to time coming off the box with music or something, that's nice as well. So it's kind of a get out of jail free card a little bit there. But yeah, I got the it's the 24-70 lens that's on it right now. Normally for paintball, I shoot with the 70-200. It's a little different because it's micro four thirds, but it's the same equivalent. Don't have to get too deep into cameras there. But yeah, and then like I said, Premiere Pro, Windows, everything. I mean, yes, if I had millions of dollars, I would just get a Apple laptop and then have like a really nice Windows setup. That's the perfect world go to. But yeah, for now we just got the Windows laptop. She rocks.
Quick funny story about Mafia's lens. Somebody at USXBL was like, "Hey, why is his lens so small?" And I was like, "Just wait and see what he puts out."
I love it.
Yeah, no, I do love it. People definitely. I remember my first year I was shooting. I remember it was Rye Guy who saw me for the first time, and he's like, "You shoot Rebirth with that little body and like a onboard mic?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." That's, I mean, great point, Dan, but it's what you do with it. It's not necessarily what you
Exactly.
have. Yes,
Yep.
I would love to have a fucking FX6 and a whole grip truck worth of, you know, stuff to play with, but I don't.
And that
so.
question was when you did that reel for Assault. It's like that whole highlight video. I was like, it was
Yeah.
killer.
Yeah, just let me cook.
Exactly.
All right, Brian.
All right. So for video, I use the Sony FX3. And my lenses are kind of all over the place. I like to do it a little bit different. So when you'd see me out there with the backpack on, which is an easy rig, I was using the Tamron 35 to 150 because my goal with that was to just capture as many car crashes up close in the snake as possible. But this season, I've switched to using a tripod and using the Sony 100 to 400 because I want those long shots. Because I'm like the shots I want these days, I want to have two people in the frame shooting at each other. Like I'm trying to. It's really hard. It doesn't line up hardly ever, but I want the shots that are essentially ideal for showing off paintball, which makes it really hard. But the 100 to 400 allows that. And here's a little bit of sauce for video. I stop way down on my aperture. I'm shooting like f20, so then I can have two people in focus. And I think we'll touch on some more of this later on. But and then for my photo camera, I have a Sony A1. And usually I shoot on the 135 1.8 G Master with that, just because I just throw it in 1.8 and it's just everything's a portrait and it's just cheap modes. And then for editing software, here's some more sauce. There's a program called Photo Mechanic, and that's for ingesting, and you can add the metadata to your photos, and you can just scroll your mouse wheel and go through all the photos like super. You can just rip through them, and then I'll just press 5 on the keyboard for a 5-star, and then I'll just take all the 5 stars and throw them into Lightroom. So I use Lightroom. And I used to use Premiere Pro for video editing, but I switched to DaVinci Resolve because I don't like the crashing. And it also DaVinci just like scrubs through the footage way quicker. It's just a way smoother experience. And I do everything on Apple as well because AirDrop is the best thing in the world. I don't know how much time that has saved me, and time is our ultimate resource. So AirDrop for the win. And I've been a lifelong PC guy, but when Apple came out with their own silicon, oh my goodness, it's game changing. And I think I use a M1 Max and still M1, and they're on like the 4 now, and this thing still rips. Like at the end of the day, I'll just lay in bed with my laptop unplugged, editing 4K 120 video, just ripping through it, and I can edit until I fall asleep. I don't have to worry about battery. Fans never kick on, so that, I mean, I never thought I'd be this much of a Apple fanboy, but here we are.
Welcome to the dark side.
Oh,
Love it. All right. So there's a bunch of different setups. I heard Sony A1 mentioned a lot in there. That seems to be, I know at least within the last like 2-3 years, especially here in Texas, when a bunch of like newer people were taking their shot at media, I definitely saw in Facebook comments like, "Hey, Sony A1's the way to go." Seems like for good reason. So. And this one's brought to us by Bem Raps, and Brandon's here in the chat actually. So as far as y'all getting started with behind the camera, how did that go for each of you? And what's like one piece of advice that you can give to any aspiring camera people to help accelerate their growth in the sport? So let's start with John.
All right. So the best thing you can do is just go to any local regional event that you have. Keep doing it. If you have a buddy, just go showcase that buddy a couple times. Get like a year in. That's basically all you have to do. And as long as you're just putting the time and effort in, that's it. That's all it takes. And then you can just go kind of do whatever you want. But just the regionals are the best spot to go if you're starting out. And for a lot of like young guys or anyone that's just new to the sport, you're already going to be there. So like pick up the camera. If you're playing on Saturday, do it on Sunday, or vice versa. So just try it. It doesn't hurt. In between points, later in the day, just do it.
All right, Adon.
So personally, I mean, obviously for the most part, starting up media person, you're gonna like already be in the paintball. So if you already pick up a camera, offer some free stuff at a regional events, like you said, and be like, oh, just rate my work. How do you guys like it? Future events, they most probably will book you, and then you just start booking, reaching out to other friends, colleagues, and you reach out. Especially for like if you already know a media person, reach out to them. They'll probably give you good advice. That's how I started. That's how I went towards like entering more into the paintball media like side of it. And it's just from there on, you just keep growing and growing with connections, and it's just you learn so much from experienced photographers and videographers, and yourself just by keep shooting more, go to practice, shoot more. The more you shoot, Mafia mentioned earlier, the more you shoot, the more you learn. So it's just like practice, keep going.
Yeah, I feel like just that don't be afraid to reach out to someone has been an overarching theme of this podcast as a whole. And I know like Brian, you've helped a lot of guys in Texas get started, them reaching out to you. I think Carlos, who does all the thumbnails for the show, he's one of the first guys that I had on the show. I know he credits you a lot for helping him get up and running with Get That Shot. I know several other people in Texas definitely owe that to you as well. But yeah, absolutely reach out to people, make those connections. Don't be afraid to ask questions. So yeah, Ryan, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, biggest thing, if you want to get better at anything, you got to do it. If you want to make a comparison to paintball, let's say, because people in this chat are probably really used to that. If you want to go out and beat Dynasty, you're not going to do that by playing just once a week. When I was first starting this, it was every single weekend, both days at the field, just practicing all the time. At my local field, Capital Edge, turns out there's this really cool team there called Sacramento DMG, and just went out and filmed them a whole lot. Shout out Marvin Gerber, Thomas Kim, all those guys, because I probably annoyed the hell out of them. But being out there all the time, practicing them, filming them, I was very lucky with the fact that Impact was their sparring partner for a lot of that semi-pro year. So I did start to meet, Dave and talk to Bart a couple of times and, and make some connections with them early on in my paintball career. But the biggest thing was I was just growing every week by just getting better and taking video. Back then, we didn't have real stuff as much. So when I came in 2020, one of the biggest pieces of advice I got from Rye Guy was just post reels. Just every day, post a reel. Before that, I was being more selective with it and stuff. And that's really when my, account went up and, I feel like kind of turned some heads in paintball a little bit past just Rebirth. But biggest thing is you just got to do it. If you don't do it, you never get better. So, go out to a field. Regional events are great, but before that, just go out to a field. Find which field your teams practice at locally and go film a day, go take some photos. Yeah, you're probably gonna have to give those photos or videos away for free. You're probably not gonna make much money off those, but if you show up consistently and start having a good reel or good plethora of stuff to show people, then for that first event, hey guys, I'm gonna try out an event with you guys. It'll be a little less of a rate because I don't know what I'm doing, but these are my stuff. Do you guys want to hire me? And you might get one or two. And yeah, ball starts going downhill.
For sure. Brian?
Yep. I mean, they've all pretty much nailed it so far. It's as with anything, practice. Just Nike, just do it. The more you practice, the better you'll get. And
I guess one thing to add too, networking does help. Because like when I met Verbal and Rye and Enrique and a couple of these other guys who we started sharing Airbnbs and just this flow of information that started to happen at events, I definitely learned way more. But I also know myself, I hate doing that. So like I get that can be scary. But I guarantee you, if you have a camera in your hand, you ask anyone else with a camera in your hand, they're gonna, we're gonna have an autism fit. We're gonna want to talk about cameras with you. So that'll get you in a lot of the time.
That's the thing, like that, Christian had mentioned with like Carlos and stuff. Like, yeah, I just want to talk about cameras. So if you want to talk about cameras and making cool things, yeah, just shoot a message. Like I answer the majority of them. Like I just love cameras. It's something I'm a big fan of, and I'll spurg out over it. So yeah, just get out there, just do it. Find your local spot. The people will love you. You'll be like, oh my gosh, like I'm beating them back with a stick. Like they, all these guys want coverage and stuff. And then you can start charging too. So yeah, just go do it.
Another question. So I get asked the gear question a lot too. To start, a lot of people that one of their first questions for me is, "Hey, what camera do you shoot on? And like, what do you recommend I get to start with?" I recommend the camera that works, a camera that turns on, that records video, your phone even. That's amazing first camera. My recommendation is to go get started doing it, because if I give you an FX6, you're not gonna know what the hell you're doing, and it's gonna look worse. So just don't worry about the camera equipment. Just buy something, find something cheap, used, local store maybe, find an entry-level camera, see if you like it. Hey, if you do it for a year, all right, then you can upgrade and like get yourself a little something you feel better about, but just practice.
Borrowlens.com.
Exactly.
Great
That's a good one
website,
too.
guys.
Yeah,
Alright.
you can definitely rent, but I'm big on the phones. Phones are insane these days. If you want to do some video, just grab your phone, get out there, and then use the like telephoto lens on it and just start recording. And then you can take that and you can start learning to edit, and you can start learning to tell stories. So that's the most important thing, is telling stories. Like, yes, we have the short form content now, but people will care about the story. So try to be a storyteller.
Love it. Dan?
Yeah, I mean, Verb and I are like on the same wavelength all night. I started out with my iPhone. Like the first photos I ever took for paintball were on my iPhone. So I think, you always hear every photographer say, the best camera you have is the one that you have at the ready at all times, which is typically in your pocket. But for how it actually started for me, it was really bad. My first event, I had my media shirt on backwards, and like halfway throughout the day, someone was like, "Hey, bro, your shirt's on backwards," and I was like, "That's it. I'm never showing up to this thing ever again. Like my paintball days are done." So I think about that oftentimes. It's a very humbling moment. But actually, Verbal is a big credit to the first getting me onto the field, because we had a lot of conversations about camera gear and what to do, what should I do. So both Brian and Carlos were huge in that. In terms of advice, the biggest thing I could say for anybody is consistency, especially if you're like a photo person or a photo in the media space, is you have to post on a consistent basis. I've helped so many new folks get up and running, whether it's like through SmugMug or account advice. I'll see them post and then they just like stop. And then they're like, why am I not growing? Why is this not happening? It's like, well, you're not posting, you're not giving people what they need. And then I think the second piece of advice is, and I don't think I've heard many folks say it in here, is get something, whether it's even if it's a t-shirt or a tech shirt, just get something with your name, your logo on it, your handle on it. When you're at events or even your practice field, people come to me all the time like, "Hey, where can I find your work? How can I find you?" And I'm wearing my logo, I'm wearing my brand, and so it's easy just to point down to it. But for some folks, if you're not wearing anything, people are sometimes afraid to walk up to you and like, "Hey, where is this stuff going to be seen at?" So I think that's something that would help out a lot of new media folks.
If you need a logo, go on Fiverr. It's the best. Literally,
Yeah.
That's where my M is from. I got it in like 2016. I love it. I'm never gonna change it. That's my Mafia M. So
Fiverr.com is great.
it doesn't take a lot of money, it doesn't take a lot of investment, and then makes you look 80 to 90% more professional. Just boom, instantly.
Yeah,
For sure. Or if you want to support anybody
gonna
that's
make it.
in paintball, I have contacts for a couple of
Fiverr.
graphic designers out there.
Not Fiverr. Support India. No, I'm sorry. Hey, they need the help too.
All right. So here's a question in the chat. This is from Algan ATX. Their question is, what's the biggest difference going from being on a team playing paintball to being on your own capturing media? Do y'all ever miss the connections that you had with your teams? Adon, I think you're one of the more recent guys to kind of make that transition from being on my team, the Titans, to now where you are with the USXBL on WC. So yeah, what's that been like for you?
I think it's amazing. I haven't lost any connections as far as right now. I'm still in the fields with them sometimes, like when we do like some like Titan Cup paintballs. I still see them around every tournament. When I can, I say hi when I'm there. I haven't lost connections. It's amazing that I can show what my team does from the other side of like the viewer's perspective instead of being able to play with them. When they do a mistake, like I'm able to recognize and I tell them afterwards, hey, like could have moved this, you could have done this. But I mean, I do miss it playing, like it's a different connection when you're like behind the lens and actually playing with them. But when you're behind a camera, you're giving them another perspective of what they're seeing or like what they didn't see. So it's kind of pretty amazing. But miss it? Yes, definitely miss it. I want to go play paintball again, but expensive? Yes, it's also expensive.
For sure. Anybody else want to chime in on that?
yeah, I'll chime in on it. I think for me, I haven't played on a team since I was really a kid. So I think being out there, especially following teams for a whole season, like Cap City Charge and like Austin Assault and a few other guys, they've hired me the whole entire year, and so I spend a lot of time with them, at these events and throughout the weekends. And they make you a part of your team or part of their team, and so like you feel it, whether they win or lose, like you feel that emotion, and so it definitely feels. I think we go through the height of it. If they win, like you feel charged up. If they lose, you feel like, oh well, I just want to go hug these guys. I think we're in such a unique spot because we can capture those moments for them. That way we can give them that gift that they're going to have the rest of their life, right? Like whether it's a trophy celebration or it's even somebody crying in their their dad's shoulder. So it's a really cool and just unique connection that we have with all these teams.
It definitely is. Especially like playing with guys every weekend and like seeing them develop as players.
That's so
And maybe you
cool.
don't see them for years, and then you go back, and then they're playing pro, and then you're out there shooting them, and you're like, "Yo, remember when it was like us on a D3 team, and now you're over here?" So it's like really cool to see like this like unique story or like how a player blossoms. But it's really tough to not play with your friends anymore.
Yeah, I think that's why selfishly, like I got embedded with teams. One of the nice things about when you do a documentary with a team is, as Shellda said, you live every moment with them. I was so happy to see. I'm excited to see what he comes up with. But Dylan filmed it. He was embedded with Aftershock this year. I think that's going to be an awesome piece from him. But it was just funny watching him from the outside because I know, from my own personal experience with DMG, it is one of the most rewarding things being able to follow a team from point A in a season all the way to point Z after World Cup. It's a lot of work. You don't get paid the amount of money that you should. It's in no way rewarding other than personal, like feel good. But those moments when you can share, good moments with the team, when you're in the pits and they don't really want to talk to anyone, but they'll let you be there because you're their dude. You've been there all year. Those type of moments are special. The whole traveling and all of that, being with those guys, it kind of does replicate a little bit of that. Like, I'm not on a team anymore, but being with them and trying to tell their story, you definitely you feel it and you become a small part of it. I've eaten at Charlie's 3 times. I've never won World Cup, but I've been able to do so because of some very generous people on some teams that I was, filming and a part of. And those are 3 nights in my head that I'm never going to forget. But I was just a quote unquote media person for that event. So yeah, it's funny the bond you make. It's getting shot, dude. I guarantee that's what it is. Because when you go in just as pained as them and they look at you, they're like, "Damn man, you got lit up for that shot." I definitely feel like it gets you some credit.
I've
Yeah,
definitely
a memory I definitely have with like my winning team is Titans winning a D3 at Texas. Just that splash in the pit, getting splashed by mud by Christian.
I'm
It was
glad I
just
got
I'm in the
Yeah.
zone. It was amazing. It was just you were there in the moment, them winning. You got splat. Everyone got splat. We won.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still so sorry because that splash was meant for me. My wife tried to splash me with all of the mud after we won, and Adon took the brunt of it for me, all over his gear and everything. It was, I think John was there. He caught the whole thing on his. We got like 3 different angles of that. It was awesome.
I wasn't even mad. I was like, you know what? We just won. We won first place D3. So it was amazing.
I guarantee you, if we had gotten second, you would have been mad as hell, though.
No, I was still maybe
That's-
a little more, but it was a moment.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
That's one of those events where it's like, okay, if we blow this at the end, I don't know. It's probably gonna be a few weeks before I even feel like talking to any of you guys again. That event was so miserable. All
We
right,
got to go back to the same location.
please. At least it's in September this time. Hopefully, that makes it a little
Yeah.
bit better. I mean, instead
We're
of
just all gonna melt. People
Right.
are gonna
There's gonna be
enjoy
deaths.
Texas in September and be like,
Mhm.
I experienced my
Oh, it's
first
so
one.
hot.
It's hot as fuck.
Mhm.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
can't
Sleeping
wait.
in the van,
This is gonna
guys.
It
be
doesn't go
hilarious.
down. You would think, from California, I'm like, oh, it's becoming fall. No, it's not a thing out here.
Yep. All right. So we're gonna skip around a little bit on the sheet that I sent you guys. So we're gonna go to number 7. So this one's brought to us by Jared Sherman with TexanHemp.com. So at what points did each of you guys start accepting money for your camera work? And for those out there hoping to break into the market, what's an appropriate way to measure how much to charge? So Ryan, let's start with you.
I was just thinking about it because, I'm a little different in the fact that my first job was an actual, gig job with the production company, and I was traveling the country. So for me, I guess there already was some confidence in feeling like my work has some value to it because I already had someone paying for it and hell, even sponsoring travel and stuff. But when I got into paintball, it was definitely hard to break that through to, consumers, customers, players, guys who are, going to be picking stuff up from you. And so I would say, one of the first things I did, obviously the DMG stuff helped kind of build a name, build reputation. Everyone out there, they're not going to have opportunity to go film a winning semi-pro team as they win their pro spot. But that's where that comes in, that repetition. Go out to your local field, start, first day you're out there, kind of see what teams are, introduce yourself to a couple of them, take some stuff, get some Instagrams, send it to them and just say like, hey man, here's some shots. If you want to post them, feel free. Just all I ask you, tag me, and then build that up. And then slowly those guys will start to kind of remember your name. If there's an event coming up, maybe you can bring up to them, hey man, I know you guys, you're going to an event. I want to do media an event for the first time. It might be a lower fee. You might not be able to ask, the day rate that I'm asking or Verbhal's asking, or Adon, but that's okay, because at first you can just start and then start to build that resume, and then you have actual tournament photos, your tournament video, or whatever you're doing, and then from that, same thing, take that in, do more of those, spread that around to other people. It's a grind. It's not easy to start. You don't make a lot of money doing this, so it's one of the things you gotta repetitively be at it. You gotta be out there making content, getting your name out on social media. It's something I spent 3 years doing, and it kind of, thankfully now I'm in a position in this sport where I don't have to be out there every single weekend as much. But there was 4 years of doing that is what kind of built to the spot where I'm now like, hey man, these are my prices. If you want to work with me, cool. If not, that's totally fine too.
All right, Brian.
So I started charging pretty quickly because I shot like one XTPL at Fit, and it went pretty good. And people were like, "Holy shit, can we hire this guy?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." But I still do feel that there's like a paintball rate, and obviously for like local tournaments, I don't have any problem with that because it's home. There's no travel. It's easy, and I want to make cool stuff for the homies. But it's still way less than the actual like what's going on out there. I know Jimmy Hickey from Seattle Uprising recently has been putting out some actual numbers, and I'm sure most people are like, "What? Like this is insane!" But yeah, that's the going rate of what you can charge out there. But yeah, just get out there, put out quality work, and connect with people that you want to connect with, and you can start charging. Media is just such a huge thing. Just get out there and do it, and ask for some money. I'm still terrible at figuring out rates. I'm on the business side. I am so bad. I am the worst businessman ever. I just have a lot of passion, but I need to figure that out. Because I got babies now. Um, and that's my biggest thing for me these days is like, yeah, if I'm gonna be away from my kids for the day, like it has to be worth my time. Yeah, just get out there and just figure, you know, don't go in at 50
So
bucks.
side advice: don't have kids for as long as possible. I think that would also
Yes,
be
yes.
very helpful.
I did
Yes.
my best. That is very solid advice too.
You did. You
And
did.
I do recommend that in the position I'm in now. Yeah, take your time having kids because being 41 with a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old almost like, yeah, this keeps me super young. So that is very good advice as well.
All right, Dan.
I was gonna say sorry, real quick. Verb's gonna be
Go
like
ahead.
60s, talking about skibbity and a whole bunch of weird Gen Alpha shit.
Oh yeah, I'm always super plugged in. Very online over here.
For me, I didn't start charging, I think, for about 2 or 3 months. I think the first Bunker Fest last year was the first time I charged for it. And it was hard. It was hard. Like you build relationships with, folks week in and week out, and you are giving them free content. And then all of a sudden, like, hey, that content is now not free. So I think I wish I would have charged right off the bat. With that being said, though, I think it's a balance, right? So like you want to charge, but you also want to put out content for your brand to help promote your brand too, right? And then when you're early on, maybe you're grabbing a few photos or even for the video guys, like a reel, and you're collaborating with that team or that field or the brand, whatever it is, to help build your brand while you're also charging. And so I think some advice for some of the newer folks is it's going to be hard, but put a price behind your work early on, and still also use some of that work to promote and drive traffic to your site or your brand as well.
Yeah,
John?
hook up the homies.
Mhm.
That's what I did. I was just taking photos of the guys. I just got a lot of free content from me, but
Yeah.
it's my homie.
It builds
Love 'em.
trust.
Yeah, so I mean, usually when I go out for practice days, I don't really do like charging stuff just because I want to get, like Shellda said, put your brand out there, get it out there more as possible. There's probably new players in the field that want to get pictures of like that, and first few ones are free, but after a while, you do realize you're like, you know what, my work has gone to an extent like good quality where a lot of people are using it. And so that's when you enter the regionals or like a tournament, let's say a small tournament, you could charge like depending on what you want, right? So I can't really give a price out there, because you got to know based off, and over the years you start increasing it or after tournaments, depending on how much you provide and how much you get of them. But like I'd say, your own judgment is the best thing. You get like comments from players that you take locally, and then I've heard like, you should really start charging for this, and you're like, yeah, I probably should, and then you start from there. But yeah, I mean, local events, you got to grow the sport at some points. So it's a hit or miss, it's up to you. But I'd say at some point, like probably like your first tournament, charge of like, a decent amount, not too high, but not too low. So you just get your name out there. It's branding. So yeah, just good luck.
Yeah. No, I think like another thing too is some teams are not going to come with you as you're growing and as you're becoming, a better media person. I won't name them. I have a lot of love for this team. They were one of the first teams to ever book me, but I started raising prices. They didn't want to pay those. I didn't do media for them anymore. It's fine. I have no hard feelings. Still love those guys. They literally were one of the first ever teams to book me and, get me started on this journey. So I got love for them. But, my prices got to go up because my work goes up and the amount of gear I'm bringing on the field goes up and the insurance bills for that stuff goes up. It's, that's the business side that's not fun for all of us because we're the creatives who like making you guys look cool. But at the end of the day, I mean, I got to pay for this roof over my head.
And the time too. That's a big thing.
I'm sorry, Ben.
The time. Yeah, like I don't think people realize how much time it is to dump footage and edit it, and that alone is crazy expensive if you put a price tag on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and that's our ultimate resource. Let me touch back real quick because back in like 2022, social media dollars for short form content were so crazy. So I wasn't charging anyone anything because I was just making so much posting to Facebook. So I was like, people would ask me, could I cover them? And I'd just be like, well, just go do something cool out there, And so that had kind of screwed up my whole business sense for this whole thing. Trying to, right the ship after all that. But yeah, those days are long gone, unfortunately.
They were fun.
But yeah, it allowed for me to do a lot. It allowed me to do whatever I wanted, which was kind of fun. And I would just go for the craziest moments that I could see. But I should have probably kept charging that whole time because who knew it would die off so quickly? It was just like I think it was October 2022.
Like 6 months we had.
It just everything just like fell off a cliff.
It was a hard stop. Yeah, yeah. I remember it. That's how traumatizing it was. It was like, have you checked your Instagram? Why did I only get 2 cents today? What the fuck? And then it never went back up.
Yeah, and that's about where Instagram's at these days. I probably get about less than $1 a month from Instagram. It feels like it's nothing. It's there's no like you can do YouTube, but man, you gotta have long YouTube videos, and they gotta get a lot of views if you want just the
long form content is monetization king on YouTube. I will say like you do okay on shorts. I recently that reel of Cornell and I forget who he was jousting with in the snake getting real close. Got like 3 million videos or 3 million views on YouTube. I made about $85 off that. So like yeah, you get some, but like, man, you just gotta be getting the best viral reels every single day. Like it's not so, which is, and it's definitely better than Instagram because I think if you do the conversion on that, it'd be way lower. But it's still, it's just not. Yeah, you gotta have the long form stuff. Obviously, no secret. That's where the podcast comes in and helps out. The other stuff we were doing, the mic'd up videos and things like that. But yeah, no, those they're a lot of work. It's hard to put out consistent high level content like that, all the time.
For sure, John.
All right, so media is always kind of like art, so it depends on how you feel about it and what somebody's willing to pay. I've always been somebody that's super reasonable. So when I started in 2012, the first 2 years I did raw video for free, and I usually had stuff up like the same day. Like I just overworked myself because at that time I was trying to grow my brand, and one of the ways to get brand recognition was doing free media work. So it was a really good thing to do. So like, your pricing really depends on what you're bringing to the table and what you want to charge people. I always try to be reasonable. We're dealing with paintball players. We know everyone's a little tight. A lot of times they want to stay on money, if that's really the case. But a lot of times, they just want media for free. And a lot of times I still do that. Like if you look at the Ruthless Facebook page, you'll, especially from World Cup, we have a ton of photos that are just random players because, again, like I said earlier, it's kind of like telling the story. So you have to figure out yourself what you feel like your worth is. And like, I feel like I kind of sell myself short because like I did do stuff with like Cena and Matt on the Pure production. I did stuff for like Faceful and ProShar and Valken and other big brands, but like I just want to be reasonable because I feel like, you know, you got a good price, you got a good product, more people will book you, and then you can be a little bit more you can choose a little bit more on what you want to do. So like then you don't have to worry about doing like 5-man teams or 3-man teams and stuff like that.
My biggest problem is I can't even flex the productions I helped with because they're taking years to come out. But real talk, Iron Kid's about to be the best thing you've ever seen in your life. All that matters, we saw it a cup. It's brilliant. It's amazing. Go check those out when they come out. Thank you.
Love it. Yeah. I mean, so many of you guys have done so many different things. You all have very different approaches. Like Adon, I know you're essentially partnered with both of Mike Hinman's leagues. You know, Brian, for a while there, you were just kind of shooting like cool stuff, whatever cool things were out there. John, I know you do a lot through your, you know, Ruthless paintball products and doing media, especially for your teams that you have. So like, let's talk more about each of your approaches. So this one's brought to us by Mariachi Aguilas de Oro. So as far as like the monetization,
Put some spice on that.
I get so many comments like just about every week. They're like, I listen to your podcast just so I can hear you say Mariachi Aguilas de Oro.
Someone needs to make that to a reel, just you saying that over
Yes.
and over again.
Yeah. I'll get into ASMR. That'll be the market that I break into, paintball ASMR. So what are each of your approaches as far as like the monetization or getting income? Are you primarily taking bookings from teams? Are you partnering with brands? Like I know you guys, especially you, Ryan, you've worked with like HK Army in the past. Are you like doing things for bookings for like other projects, things like that? Like what are each of your approaches? So Brian, I guess let's start with you.
I have no idea. When it comes to business, I am the worst businessman ever. I'm just too nice, unfortunately, is my like that's what it comes down to. And I'm not good at saying no. So I'm trying to like I said, I'm trying to up my business game after having a year of just pure insanity posting to social media when all of the social platforms were trying to combat TikTok is what had happened. So in 2022, like Facebook was paying like crazy, and that they opened up the algorithm and it was just bonkers. We're talking like the numbers were insane. It was like 58 million views a month or something like that. And it was getting paid. So that kind of broke me on the being a good businessman side. But I take teams now. I work with some companies. I work with Paintball Fit, obviously, with the Hydra Fit as well. But yeah, when it comes to business advice, I am terrible at that, and I need to take a page out of Dan's book. I feel like he's been doing pretty good. I like some of what he's got going on. Yeah, Moffat's got it going on too with the Patreons and such. Like y'all have got it way figured out way better than I do. So yeah, look to these guys on this information.
Brian, I know you've been doing a lot, like especially with the Fit Life stuff this year. Are they like compensating you at all for that? Are you also doing like perhaps any product shoots for the new Hydra stuff that's coming out? Or
So we have a retainer deal. I have a retainer with Fit, and I don't shoot many products just because I'm so far away. So I would love to shoot every new product just to make it, make something look cool. But yeah, so I'm on retainer with them, but yeah, that's about it. And a couple team bookings. I saw my boy Blaine in here earlier from NO Smoke. They always pick me up for the US XPLs and XCPL this last event, so big shout out to them. But Beefy Boys too, that's another one, another of my staple teams. Massive shout outs to all those guys. So
All right, Dan.
I think for my approach, it's a mix of teams and brands. The local events like here in Texas, it's usually teams that are at Outlaw that I have relationships with, and I think that's probably the single most important advice with booking is relationships. I think a lot of what I do now on the pro scene has come from building those relationships, and so from that, working with brands like Hormesis or Project or JT in the past, like doing some free stuff has turned into either they send me gear or we're doing paid work. But it's because we've built like a trusting relationship. And so that's been really helpful for me. And then, I said it in one of my earlier answers, but the consistency piece, I think there's maybe a handful of weekends I'm not at Outlaw throughout the year. And from that, I'm filming however many practice weekends that is. And I put, those pictures on my site every Sunday. And so that definitely drives revenue weekly, essentially. And, the merchandise thing that I had with Max did really well. I had a few shirts that kind of popped off. And what I'm doing for next year, we've already got some cool things in the works with where I'm taking my brand. And so the merchandise thing, players love to support media in terms of like merch and swag and all that. So if you're a media out there and you aren't selling t-shirts or stickers or anything yet, like please go do that right now. It's so valuable.
For sure. John.
All right, so I shot under a few flagship companies, as I said earlier, and a lot of them was just about like asking the question, like, "Hey, can I shoot?" And I got the opportunity to do it. It was kind of like really weird. So don't be scared to ask. Now, like right now, I have to kind of like do this weird thing. Like I book teams directly, just because like that's been like the simplest thing to do, and doing that allows you to have like a better schedule. You're not, kind of like worried about, oh, I have to shoot all of these teams because, I'm working for this company or anything like that. But it gives you a little bit more freedom on like your product, your schedule, how many matches you got to be there. So like I'm still old school. Like you can just like book directly to my website. I try to give you like set packages. Obviously, it's like a set minimum. I always give you way more than that. I don't care what you do with it as long as it's not being used for like promotional stuff for another company. But yeah, like that's the way I go now. Is just directly to the players. It's super easy. I mean, once you get yourself kind of established, you'll just have people like, for instance, Dane Hawkins, really good photographer. He does all the events, MSXL. I think he does like their media stuff too. I know Dane, or I don't know if he does, but he used to have people that would book it for the whole season. And so it's like that is like the best deal you could ask for as a media person. Like if you already know you're going, a set paycheck, because a lot of us don't get that, or somebody pays you up front at the beginning of the year. So like go back, just do the work, and sometimes you can get something worked out that's in your favor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to jump in there. I think we're seeing more of a trend of that for like these local events like USXPLs and the WCs is teams are starting to like, hey, are you booking out multiple events? Can I book you for the season? So I think we're going to start to see that like in the paintball community continue to grow.
It's a good way to tell a story, and that's something I was talking to Tom Cole about. Like we don't have a lot of stories, and a lot of stories that we do have are owned by certain companies. So like they don't get a lot of options of being told a certain way, or like being branded, or seen like behind the scenes. Like it has to be clean in a sense. So like if we can have more stories being told, a lot more people are going to be more engaged than just seeing like somebody dump a bunch of paint.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I know on my end, as a player for one of these teams, like we've definitely preferred it to be able to book like photographers and videographers out for the whole season. It just makes things so easy. And it also feels cool when like I can go to that person's Smug Mug website and just right there on the front page, there's a folder for my team right there at the top, Texas Titans. And that goes a long way with like helping the team build their brand as well. Definitely what I would strongly recommend if you are like a photographer or videographer out there, offer something like that and advertise that you offer it. Like I'm pretty sure Carlos is an example of someone who like says, "Hey, I've got a team program. Put me on your jersey. We'll book you out for the whole season. You get to save like, let's say like a small percentage just by like paying for 4 events in advance. Maybe you shave off like $50 an event or something, whatever the number ends up being." I've seen several teams take advantage of that, and then they're like getting featured more and more because, hey, you paid for them the entire season. Now they want to say thank you to like their program teams, let's call it, just because that's like the common terminology, I guess, in paintball as a whole. If you're like a Get That Shot program team or an AFG program or Shellda Photos, then they're probably going to do more for you because you're kind of like their flagship team in a sense. So yeah.
I just want to touch on that quick too, because you said like I shot for Capsule Charge all season, and I think they were one of JT's is it Imperial teams? I think that's what they're called. Like it's the whole package team. And so between the 3 of us, whether it was myself or Capsule or JT, like they had a ton of media coverage all over the JT page, right? And so you've got their account, however many followers they have, now getting blasted to JT's massive account. And so it really helps to have that branded partnership.
Yeah, and Cap City that was a new brand for this season, and
brand new, yeah.
And they definitely grew a lot because of it. So yeah, Don, let's go over to you. Your approach as far as like income, monetization, team bookings, things like that. I know your situation's pretty unique being partnered with the league.
Yeah, so I mean, with the league, it kind of like helps out with like the income part where like you have a set stone income, but also booking teams like how they said in advance helps that a lot too. You already have your set schedules. You already have what you're gonna shoot. The players. You get to know them. You know what they like, how they move or what they do. So you just get recognized with them, and personally, like how I do it. If I have a team that wants to book me out the whole season, I like, hey, you book me out the whole season. I put my logo in your jersey. You get a little discount, and that's how we work, right? So it's like it's a bond. So it's like you could say like it's a contract, but it's more of a bond, like a family bond. It's like a little brotherhood where I got your back, you got my back in a way. You get pictures, I get the funds. So it's a pretty good thing to have. So I'd say if you're starting up, maybe find that team that they started off with you, that builds up to you, and you just go up with them, and you both like reach to a level where like they reach D3 and you're with them for like 3 seasons now, and it's just that bond is there. So I would definitely do that. And even then, like your work, how they said, will eventually get to a place where like it's getting more recognized. That for me, thankfully, like God bless that the league recognized my local league here, that my work's pretty good, let's see how he works with, and then they just kept me on their team, thankfully, thanks to him and Ryan for that. But yeah, I'd say that's a good way to go. Just go with a team.
Yeah, and I know for you, Adon, like partnering with Mike Hinman, like you're flying out, or I don't know if you're getting flown out to these events, like getting your like your plane ticket covered, but like partnering with a local league is definitely a huge step up, and you're like attending all of the USXBLs, all of the WCPPLs, putting out a lot of content, providing like the raw footage for however they decide to edit it. I'm not sure if you're the one doing the editing or if that's that's someone else, if that's Ryan Polito. that's doing like the reels and all of like the countdown to the start of the next season, all of that stuff. But like there's a lot more that you can do besides just like the providing the raw photos, the raw videos, like turning it into some real content creation in there.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I personally, so I take the videos, they edit them. It is a lot of footage. I wish I had more time, but I don't, with college taking up a lot of my time and life. But thankfully, I have a really good media team over there that takes care of me, and I take care of them. So that's a really good, like, back scratching, like I said, bond that we have. So it's amazing. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better thing at the moment for this time.
For sure.
Here's a good point too. As a team, if you continue to hire a media person, they'll learn you way better, and they'll know what you're going to do, so the coverage gets even better.
Yes.
That's something that you don't often think about, but I mean, I think about how well I know, like, my Fit Boys now. Like, yeah, I know pretty much everything. Like, I know every call. I know when they start calling zones, I'm like, all right, well, obviously the next thing they're going to do is, Chavi's going to push now.
You learn body language. That's a big one for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
body language is very important. Yep, for sure. Sometimes you don't even need to say anything, and you know that, all right, this guy's about to go. But you also can read the situation on the field too. I think that's one thing. We all have pretty good like field awareness. Like, excuse me, I know all these guys, like, as media personnel, like, we can see what's about to unfold and put it all together. And so yeah, the more you stick with one guy, it makes a big difference.
Definitely. All right, Ryan, you got anything to chime in on this?
Yeah, I mean, Dan didn't touch about it, but the Patreon stuff, we do that with from the sidelines. It's not, that's not paying my rent every month or anything like that, but at least it's taking care of like the fees for Adobe, softwares and stuff like that, and the little couple software edit things that we use. But yeah, so I mean, through that we offer we offer early versions of the show as well as ad-free versions of the show, and then we also just now have started a 30-minute bonus show that's only behind the paywall. So what's nice about that, we can talk all the shit we want because no one who isn't gonna pay for it will ever hear it, and it's gonna be fun. So yeah, that's one of the things that I do through content to help make some money back. Patreon's a big one. It's really not that hard to set up, and you can put it as low as you want. If you just want, hey, $1, appreciate your support, guys, like, you could definitely do that. The other thing, obviously, booking teams, everyone's mentioned it is a big part of the lifeblood of paintball. That's how you can go to events and make them make sense, is by booking out teams. It sucks because it'll throw a wrench in your schedule of when you want to actually capture stuff, but yeah, sometimes you just got to do it. Past that, I'm in an interesting position where I just moved down to Austin. I'm currently doing a lot of freelance type stuff, so I'm doing PA type gig work and stuff around the city. It's fucking selling Pokemon cards too. Come check that out if you guys want to. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, dude, you got to do what you got to do. Figuring it out down here. Maybe I'll get a steady media job down here. Maybe I won't. We'll see what happens. Not fully sure yet. But yeah, for the moment, you just gotta hustle. That's what my whole life is.
Yeah, for sure. Ryan, with your I guess the past times where you've been booked by companies like HK Army, how did that work out for you exactly?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the company and the situation. Just because people want different things. I've worked with HK for a couple of different events. I actually worked the event that Quitman finally left HK. He didn't tell me that, so he booked me under the guise that he just wasn't going to the event and was going to be like in text communication the whole time. Well, my camera broke that Friday of the event, and I text Quitman like, "Yo, dude, I'm fucked." And he texts back, "I no longer work at HK Army. Please contact Marky." Sometimes things like that will happen. I still love Quitman. He's a good guy. Now he's back in the HK sphere a little bit. Wish great things for him. But yeah, stuff like that will happen. Not all companies are like that. They have different levels of communication. Some just will give you like, hey, we need this amount of deliverables. Here is money, and they won't give you anything more. Some will be very particular about what you film, where you film, how you film it, and that's all. It's their marketing budget. They have the ways they want to do it. Sometimes that stuff could be more annoying than what it's worth. If you're out there, don't micromanage us. Let us shoot stuff that we think is cool. If you need certain things, work with us and try to like figure out how we can get a shot of it. I remember for HK, the big one at the time was they just came out with their speed feed. Do you know how hard it is to get good content of a speed feed? It's impossible, man. So I got a lot of like people loading shots. It's a dope ass speed feed.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm not lying. Yeah, I thought the trend was to get everybody spilling all of their paint onto the floor. What do you mean?
No, but that's the thing with the speed feed. You want it to go in because then you see the aluminum flaps beautifully crest, and and then also I worked with Hormesis Productions for 2 of their productions, like I mentioned earlier in the pod. Those were more just kind of right place, right time type stuff. Was working with Alex doing some stuff with Field 1 and that, and then kind of got folded in. And then very, very luckily enough, I was able to get called on to work on Iron Kids from Dan Napoli. He saw some of my stuff and just wanted to kind of give me a shot. So that was awesome. And then the Miko stuff, he was the director of All That Matters, which was the most current one. It was kind of they needed a camera op. I was free for the year, and I got the absolute piss shot out of me. So go watch that movie because it looks beautiful.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
it's not fun, bro.
Yeah, real quick, just because I see a couple of the other media people here in the chat, I see, a big one, Sal Chavez, who's especially at Cup, did a lot for Project, doing like product videos, booth videos. So shout out to Sal. He turned those things around quick. So yeah, just shout out to Sal. Shout out to all the other media guys. I know there's a ton of them in here. Some of them I recognize, some of them I don't recognize the usernames on here. And I know that like a couple of you guys are in the chat just talking back and forth. So shout out to all the other media people here. I do want to cover some trends in like the content that you're posting or seeing recently, or maybe if it's something more like a personal flair or personal style that you are each doing with your own content. So like to use Brian as an example, recently have started doing like the motion tracking footage on clips where you'll have like the clip play and then it'll play again like zoomed in slow motion following like the paintball exiting the barrel and then like tracking all the way to where it impacts on the player. Like, that's kind of been your thing recently. So what are some other trends that you guys have been seeing lately, or if you have like your own personal flair, what's something that you try to incorporate, or maybe even what's something that you hope to see? And we'll start with Dan.
I just want to get this out there. I found with card packs, if you go a certain way, they open really easy. No, dude, I've been making Pokemon content recently, so I'm not really in the whole paintball trend sphere and everything. So I just want to get that out of the way first. There's cool things, but I haven't been paying attention, man. I've been fucking playing with my cards. They're cool, all right? Fuck y'all. That's a Japanese Pikachu, all right? That shit's sick as fuck.
Plug.
You can't tell me it's not.
Oh,
yeah. For me, I think one of the trends that I've enjoyed, and I think Verb touched on it earlier, is starting to see the media guys stand on the back line, like really far back, and getting those 2 players in shots have been, I think, really great for the sport when they are nailed. But for me personally, I think everybody knows, like, I come off the field and I look like I played a day of tournament because I lay down, right? And it's been really cool. And it's nothing new. I think, folks have been laying down forever, taking photos or videos. But I think more so this year, I've seen a lot of more media folks laying down on the ground and trying to get some different shots. And I've had a lot of questions of like, hey, I'm doing it. I'm laying down, but it's not coming out. Like, what am I missing? And so it's been really cool to see some other folks picking up that trend, and I'm starting to see some similarities there. And naturally, whenever that happens, that's going to help elevate my game to another level too. So it's cool to see like trends and how we can help each other kind of push each other to new heights and limits.
All right, John.
So I don't do any of the reels or anything like that. So like what I see is really good. So like I can't complain. I think what everyone is doing is a really good job. I think a long time ago, a new standard was set kind of with doing more of the photo editing. And that was something that kind of like changed within a few weeks. And that was kind of like getting photos up the same day, because it was really important that like we're at an event, there's no reason for it to take weeks, because if it's taking weeks, we kind of already lost like the momentum of that event. And if we can kind of showcase and get it up now, more people are going to share it. And for you guys that are doing the reels, like you guys are doing a hell of a job, because I already know how complicated it is. Like I have two that I have to do that are paid for, and I've just been not doing it still from Cup, because I've just been so busy doing everything else. And it's just like one of those things, like I wish I could do it. So kudos to all you guys that are doing it.
No, I have procrastination moments too. I'll admit that 100%. Like you'll have a team and you'll be like, fuck, I don't know how to edit this. You open up
Yeah.
Premiere, you look at it, you're just like,
Yeah,
how
sometimes
does
you
this
just
come
need some
together?
juice or something, you know.
Yeah. No, I definitely have times like that for sure. So don't, yeah. It's not right away. It's as close as it can be.
All right, Adon.
Going back, I mean, the procrastination is real. You know, you put a lot of work off, and you know, I wish Dan Shellda does an amazing job putting in the work as fast as possible after the tournament. I am so jealous, but at the same time, so proud of him. That's amazing. As far as like reels, I don't know. I don't really post much reels, but I post like a lot of entertaining stuff. You know, like you're like 5 feet or 2 feet away from the other guy with the barrel right on his like body or head. You know, it's like something that just that can kick off on Instagram. You know, like get you the most views. For the most part, USXBL and WC have been doing a really good job posting my footage out there using in content. And for the most part, what I've seen is we use a lot of the like I wouldn't say, well, yeah, I guess you could say entertaining clips out there where it's something that's happening, like, you know, it's something that intrigues a viewer and gets them like more and wanting to watch more of that footage. So yeah, I think that's pretty much more of like what I post. Picture wise, I mean, you know, you always want to post someone flying midair. You're fully off the ground. Dan Shellda, you know, he's the GOAT for that. Off the ground, you can see the gap between the floor and the player. Um, but yeah, it's I'd say entertaining. You know, it's pretty good.
All right, Ryan.
All right. So
Yeah.
recently,
Oh, I heard
Yeah.
Ryan.
Sorry,
Ryan.
I've got I should have ordered this a little bit better because I got Ryan and Brian right next to each other. I also have John and
No, you're
Adon.
good.
So, yeah, someone, yeah,
Yeah,
don't.
it's all good. Yeah, I guess real quick for me, like what they're talking about, get away from the sideline. There can be cool shots there, but a lot of the times, if you can see where the paint's going, you can usually get better shots just because it gives more context to the viewer. I've been doing a lot of that recently and trying with my stuff. You get shot, it sucks. You know, is what it is. You know, cameras get shot, they'll survive. That's why I have a filter on the front of all my lenses. You know, worst case scenario, that'll break. I know a lot of these guys are starting to use the matte boxes with the bigger actual like thicker plexiglass in there. You could do that too. Whatever you gotta do, protect it, throw a blanket over it, whatever you gotta do. But yeah, take some pain, get the cool shots. Your views will go way up.
All right, Brian.
yeah, that's where it's at. Like I said, the what I've noticed on my metrics is having two people in focus shooting each other has performed better than anything that I've had recently at all. Like it's not even close. Like that blows everything else out of the water. So you need to really stop down the aperture. And then so I've been tracking it recently, and that's just I usually just go frame by frame. I'm just keyframing frame by frame. I'll put a grid up. Here's the sauce. I just put a grid up on my video editing software, and I'll usually put the ball in the middle. So I'll have it in the middle coming out of the barrel, and then I just go frame by frame and keep that paintball in the middle of the frame, and until it hits the player. So yeah, those are the hardest shots to get, but they really, man, when you get them, there's nothing like that. Like that's the best way to show off the sport, because there's been a lot of confusion. We haven't. All right, so here, showing off the sport correctly has been very difficult because we've had such small fields. So like even at Paintball Fit, we have very small fields. But recently, I've had a scaffolding on the Dorito side, which allows me to go up there. It's not too high. You don't want to be too high because ideally these are best from ground level. But the scaffolding has allowed me to go up there and film these Dorito battles, and have, Chavez on the Dorito side out there, just absolutely crushing it. So I can go up there and I can film these two players, and then I will get both in focus, F20, if you want that sauce. And then you go track the ball. You put the grid on the overlay of your video, and you track the ball, keyframe it, and that's how I do that. Like it's not too crazy, but there's the sauce for everyone. If anyone wants to figure that out, it's not too hard to do, but it looks really cool. They still need some work on my end, I feel like, because sometimes it just feels like it just goes out too quick, and then like even in slow-mo, even at 120 frames slow-mo, it just goes out too quick and it feels weird. So I'm trying to tweak the start, like see maybe the ball go out and then like catch up a little bit later.
So
But-
two things you brought up there that I want to touch on. The aperture stuff. So Verbal told me that, I think it was Texas earlier this year, or maybe it was an event before that. I've started bumping my aperture up, even though I don't shoot at 22 like he does. I try to stay, 8, 10 around there now. And my camera, it's a smaller sensor, is less depth of field anyways. But one thing definitely helps a lot. So even if you don't go full crazy like him, I can definitely say, hey, make sure you're starting to add that into your, the way you set up your camera for an event. And then what was the other point you were bringing up there? It was, oh crap, it wasn't the length of fields. What was the last point you were talking about?
The scaffolding.
5 guys here. What are we doing?
The scaffolding being on the Dorito side, getting the angle on Chavi.
Keyframing.
Oh, keyframing. Yes, that's a big one too, because a lot of my content gets keyframed as well. You can do it in Premiere, you can do it in DaVinci. I have gone into After Effects and I've done the actual like motion tracking and like done a cool one. It was of Archie Barnes last year. Only problem is it's a hassle and a half with Paintball because there's so much happening in the image, so it's really hard to find one good like tracking dot to get a good track on. So that's why you have to go through with like the keyframe stuff. So
20, baby.
If you guys do want to try it out, don't try to throw it in After Effects, because I've tried to track paintballs before and it's like, what do you want from me, man? Like it's one pixel in a sea of all the others.
So that initially I was like, okay, well, how can I use this tracking in DaVinci to track these paintballs? And I was like, okay, it's never going to track them. I was like, I'm just going to do it myself. And that's why I went with the grid method and just put a crosshair essentially on the screen and went frame by frame. But
and I can confirm you can do a grid in Premiere as well. So DaVinci or Premiere,
you can do it,
either way.
do it in any program. And then I added the zoom as well. But the zoom, you can do the zoom because it's 4K and because it's at a high aperture, so both subjects will be in focus. So that this is where like in photos you want to do normally like a wide open aperture of a player. It's more like a portrait. So usually when I'm doing photos, I'm still shooting. Like I said, I mentioned earlier, I was shooting on my 135 1.8 at 1.8, which is like crazy. Like the amount that's in focus is very, very small, and then everything else is blurred.
It's not even a full face. Like the tip of the nose will be out of focus.
Yes. My nose will be in focus and my eyes will be out of focus.
And that's the worst thing ever. It's annoying.
Right. Yes. So it's a lot of trying to figure out like paintball. You have to break a lot of rules in paintball. You also want a very fast shutter speed in paintball. For video, so video has some pretty strict rules normally. It's a 180-degree shutter rule. So if you're shooting like 120 frames per second, you're shooting normally
240 shutter speed.
yeah, one 250th, because that's what most cameras have is 1/250th. But in
You're shooting a
paintball,
degree.
right. You want a rounder ball when you're watching it, because the lasers, like, you can't. I don't know. You have a slower shutter. They're like lasers. You can't really track them so well. So it looks way better and it's way more understandable with a way quicker shutter speed. So you're breaking all of these rules.
And by quicker, we're talking like 1/5,000. Like we're talking a lot faster.
Crazy.
And the motion looks sharp and kind of almost a little disjointed because of that. But to pick up actual paintballs in your shot, it's just, it's the best way to do it.
And I think I'll chime in from a photo side, because I get a lot of questions on like, hey, how'd you get that splatter? Like, how'd you get that perfect paintball in the air?
That's spiral.
I shoot at 6,400 and people are like, that's crazy. That's so high. But like you're freezing everything in real time. And that's got some of the coolest shots that I've had for that. And then Brian, I just wanted to touch back on like on those motion tracking ones on like why they're doing so well. For me, when I see it, I'm like, holy shit. And then I rewatch it, right? And it's like the clip rolls again. And so you're getting that second viewership. And I think that's where a lot of people are like, wait, what just happened? And then you see it again.
Yep. I wish I had more
Roll
frames.
it back.
Yeah,
Give me that one more time.
I wish I had a Raptor, a red Raptor, but that's also a $20,000 camera. And the problem is that $20,000 camera isn't the most investment. The storage on that thing is the most investment, because you could be doing 8K 120 on that thing, or you could, drop from 8K to 6K or 4K and get even more frames. And then it's just crazy data. Just the amount of storage you're going to use for that is just out of control.
Yeah. Buy hard drives. Welcome to being in media. Okay. This is these are all 4 terabyte drives, and there's one in the computer already right now. Yeah, just have storage on hand. That's another big tip.
Right. Yeah, I think of our man Sal Chavez in the chat. Shout out. But like he said, he came home with like 8 terabytes from Cup, and I'm like, that's a lot. Like usually on average for me, for an NXL, I'll bring a 2 terabyte hard drive, and that will be filled. For that's video for me, a couple photos. But
you only bring 2 terabytes?
No, I bring way more, but
okay. I was like, damn.
I will fill a 2 terabyte hard drive like consistently. That's normal for what I have.
Yeah. No, I'm probably shooting 4K 120 on the GH6. We're probably getting around, I don't know, 1.5. It's a little bit smaller of a file than the full Sony size stuff, but I mean, yeah, my cards are 512 gigabytes in size, and I'll fill up 75% of it in a day of shooting.
Yep, and that's what people, just the amount of storage you need to do this is wild. I have a couple NOSes back behind my computer here, which is network attached storage.
It's the good shit.
And they have 6 bays, I believe, with 20 terabyte hard drives in each of them. But then it's in RAID 5, so you lose some of it. So it's about 60 terabytes or something each on one of these things. And dang, they fill up quickly. But I'm also a hoarder, which is a problem. Like I could get rid of footage, but man, it's pretty cool to be able to go back and look in the archive and still have the first photos I've ever shot. So
I'm very big on not like it unless like if you have to. I get sometimes you have to delete some footage. I always try not to. And you never know when it's cool to go back and I don't know, let's say freaking DMG wins a semi-pro event next year, to be able to have footage of the last time they won in D3 and like, that would be a very cool edit to make. But I couldn't do that if I deleted that footage and just got it off a hard drive. So yeah, that's why you sit and hold on to, multiple copies of hard drives, or Verbal smart and he has it all in one place. But yeah, no, it's definitely, it sucks, but it can be worth holding on to in the long run.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, just all of the pricing just for the storage alone. And I know Sal's popping off in the chat about it too. Like, that's just, imagine how expensive all of these rigs are. Like, I know like there's some pretty expensive private label markers out there right now, especially with like the private milling. Like, that's like, I'm imagining my setup,
cheap.
like me working for Project. I'm like, my setup is probably about like a third to half the cost of what these guys are slinging on the field. It's
Well, on the field, but I think what we're touching on, I think it's a good point too, is how much money you have to invest into this side of it as well. This hard drives do not make you look better, but I gotta have them. It's something I gotta spend $100 on every 6 to 7 months to get a new one.
It's the very unsexy side. I would rather be buying camera bodies and lenses and I don't know, maybe a new tripod, something like that. But
Dude, I'll get
you have to
one
buy
of
the storage.
the DJ chicken head cameras, dude. We can get some great stuff with that.
Right.
I don't have money for that though, because I'm buying hard drives. Damn it, Verbal.
Right. Yeah. Because we have to buy hard drive. We have to buy cards. Like even these little
Got some
cards,
gas
like
in your
these aren't
car.
even crazy cards, but they're still super expensive. Like
Those
this
the
one,
tough cards.
Sony, you're also screwed there because Sony hates you guys and makes you
Right.
pay like
yeah.
absurd amounts of money
Like
for
this card,
media.
This card is Angel Bird 1 terabyte Sony A card, and it's $500 for this stupid little card. And I have like 3 of these things.
I think the closest that I can relate to is I just shoot like
Those are,
practice
early
footage,
SD card prices.
like just like sideline practice footage that I use for like game film purposes for us. And like, okay, I have like a half a terabyte SD card. And I'm like, okay, this was like $120 at Target or something like that. But like stuff that you guys are slinging is like, geez, that's like a,
Yeah,
2 or
like
3
micro SD cards,
Yeah.
like these things, like, but this is still 500 gigs that I gotta back up somewhere. Like that's a ton.
Ooh, Samsung too. That's that good shit.
For sure.
That is good shit.
So speaking of like holding on to all of your old stuff, this question is brought to us by Colt Roberts, Paintball Kumite. And John, we're going to start with you. So what are each of your all-time favorite captures, whether or not it was your most popular or your most successful piece of media? I want to know, what was your all-time favorite capture?
So I would just say I have a video, it's just like some raw clips. And it was when Rack City Clutch which was a lot of friends from Tampa, won MAO in 2014. It was like a big mud fest. And just like it's just them like celebrating. It's not like a big famous clip or anything like that, but it's just like something that
Was Andrew Wyatt on that team?
yeah,
City.
it was
and
it
played on
was
them.
Carlos, Cortez, and there was a few other people that ended up going higher up into the pro division and stuff. And it was kind of weird. Like,
good players.
Yeah, it was one of those teams that if it would have just stayed together in Florida, it probably would have been, semi-pro team, but it never happened. It got picked apart. So.
All right,
But
Adon.
that's all I really got. Sorry.
Do your job and host.
Adon.
Favorite clip. I mean, I've had some like pretty good like clip that I've captured. Like, for example, like one of my first, not one of my first, but like one of the first events from this year from WC is where this guy's running down the sideline, gonna go bunker someone, and starts rolling halfway. He's shooting on one-handed. But also personally, I like going back to footage. I like, teams always ask me, hey, do you have footage from like 2 years ago? I'm like, yeah, I do. And it's like, it's them winning an event. So it's like, you go back and it's like a memories you have. Like going back to the storage, like I've probably gone through already like in my whole career, probably like 40 terabytes of storage. And probably next year is going to be another 20, 30 terabytes. But it's like it's amazing just going back to the moment that you lived at one point of your life and having that moment at your accessibility. It's amazing. Favorite clip? I really don't have. I mean, I like majority. I have a lot of small raw footage that I wish I was putting out right now, but yeah, hopefully soon to come out.
All right, fair enough. Ryan?
Yeah, so I prepared on this one a little bit. I read forward, so I grabbed a couple things. If we're talking, maybe my favorite piece of media I've ever made is the Philly episode of Rebirth. The story that happened during it, the shots that I was able to get, the interviews that I was able to gather, some of the great banter from the guys. Yeah, I'm very proud of that episode. If you haven't watched it, I recommend going and watching that episode. Even if you don't watch the rest of the series, that's a great one. It even ends with the dude retiring at the end. I mean, how much better could you make it? So that one's sick. Favorite reel I've ever made. I mean, I've made so many, it's hard to pick like one, but I would say one that stands out to me was the first reel of Dylan Boyum going at it with Brandon Cornell in practice. It was probably my first reel that went quote unquote viral. Was very early in, me doing all this stuff, and I just had a great angle, and Dylan decided to drop the hammer on Brandon Cornell, and Jordan was in the back also lacing him up, and yeah, it was beautiful. It's great. This is the moments you get by being at the field every single weekend. So that was awesome. And then last one I wanted to grab was like a favorite YouTube video of mine. I think the Angel video is maybe one of the best, secondary pieces of content I've ever made. Took a lot of time, put a lot of work into it. I'd love to do more of those, but it's just hard to find the fucking time to do them. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, writing the scripts and doing all of them. I actually, to give your audience a little bit of the behind the scenes, I had worked on a Bob Long video for probably about a month and a half. I was touching on some topics in it that people in paintball thought I shouldn't be touching on, and they kindly told me that I probably shouldn't work on it, and it wasn't even malicious. They were just kind of almost looking out for me and saying, hey, that may be a bad idea if you move forward with it. So I shelved that project, and maybe I'll talk about it someday, maybe I won't, but yeah, so that's where the last one went. Maybe we'll find another topic in the future to do more of those, but yeah, I love the history of paintball, so I really loved kind of making that and giving back to people a little bit, letting them know about this weird 3-tube marker that everyone used to love.
Put that behind your paywall.
Yeah, maybe.
Dude. So when I did stuff with Pure Productions, Infamous had this whole thing for MAO 2014. They did so bad they never released it to the public, and they made you pay for it, so no one ever bought it.
That's great. Love that. Yeah. No, I mean, I guess it's coming out more and more. Starting to get talked about on meme pages and stuff. So I guess people can put two and two together out there, but I'm not gonna say it explicitly.
Will Buffer Soup. No, I'm just kidding.
I haven't heard that name in a while.
On a positive note, go watch that Angel video. That Angel video is fantastic. I really enjoyed that. Thank you for that. That was really good stuff. Great research. If you're a fan of paintball, if you're not even a fan of paintball, just go watch it. Just a very well done video.
Yeah, go. It's funny because now that we had a little more insight into what Iron Kids is after that premiere, I feel like it's kind of a prepper for that. Like it talks about a lot of that stuff from that same generation. So if you want a little bit of a teaser, yeah, you can go check out some of the stories that are in that video. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet. All right, Brian, what's your favorite capture of all time?
Okay. Well, I got one recently, and it was at World Cup this year. It was Colt beating Malloy in a 1v1. That was an iconic moment in their journey. Man, that was cool. That was like super, like, man, Colt just kind of looks back in my video. He like looks back behind the bunker like, oh, I shot him, and then he like walks off and he's just shaking his head, walking off, and it's, gosh, man, it was a really good one. I have one that I preferred the angle on, so I didn't have the perfect angle for that one, but that one is my favorite. So my favorite angle is I had an angle of Nick Sloviak. I need to go find this clip and
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Nick Sloviak shooting Archie in a 1v1. And I had the perfect angle. And I need to go use the knowledge that I have at this time to go back and make that clip very cool. And I have the knowledge, and I have it somewhere on one of these hard drives because, like I said, I'm a hoarder. Yeah, so I need to go back and remake that clip, but I don't think the depth of field will be as good, but I think I can still make something pretty cool. And then I do have a favorite photo I took, which was a I couldn't remember which year it was. I was looking at my phone trying to find it, and it's a dynasty breakout, and it's Blake and Marcelo with the sun just rising, and oh my, it's just silhouettes.
Silhouette one.
Yep, the silhouette one. I just made them silhouettes, and you can see the ball leaving one of their guns, and it's just, oh, it's such a good photo. I need to go find that. Blake's been asking for a print of that for years, and I need to deliver on that. But print that on some metal or something, make it look good. But those are my favorite captures over the years.
All right, yeah, I know the that 1v1 clip. That was when like both of them were low paint, and I think that was actually the second time Nick beat Archie in a 1v1 that year.
Right. Yes.
Because he did it once. I want to say like the event, like maybe the Dallas Minor. I want to say it was something like that. But it was the second time that it happened. I was like, geez, like Nick's like got Archie's number, and he's like the only one that has it. Seems like.
That's something good to have.
Yeah, definitely. So Dan, how about you? I know you've got several to choose from.
Yeah, this was a hard one, but I think the one that I'll show you a few. The one that stood out to me, what was the Mudfest last year? Was it Chicago, the Windy City major? I think.
Sunday was pretty bad.
Texas.
Okay.
Texas was,
Yeah.
Round Rock wasn't great either. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this was Chicago last year, but it was just such a cool clip because I had Harrison Fry diving like right at me, and so I'm laying down, and like you can see if I can get it in focus. His eyes are looking right at me. The barrel is like looking right at the camera. So that was a really cool photo for me. And then at the award show, they actually had that printed out on like a huge print. And so like to see that in person was cool. And then Sal just mentioned this in the chat. He was like, the players got to play the camera more. This was something from World Cup last year with Archie. He just ran right up to me with the one. And like, I had chills taking that picture. That was really cool. And then the last one I'll show you, this is from World Cup this year. And I think for any photographer out there, or even video, I guess, some of my favorite shots are like not playing shots. They're actually like either before the game or after the game. And this is one from right after NYX's last game. He went out on the field and just like put his head down. And like it was just such a powerful moment to capture. Like, wow, that at the time it could have been the last time NYX stepped on a pro field, right? So yeah, it's always hard to pick a favorite though.
That reminded me, one of your points reminded me, I have a favorite reel that I'm in, and it was based off that Harrison pointing the gun barrel right at the sidelines. There was a clip last year, or maybe Texas last year, because it was really cold. I remember that was all bundled up, and Sam Moneberg just randomly like slid out to the snake and like hit his trigger as he was sliding, puts out one ball, it hits me right in the Adam's apple. Takes the wind out of me. It sucks. I look right next to me. Yosh is filming me. Yosh had caught the whole thing on camera. Made a whole wasted reel out of it and everything. It was great. But yeah, that's probably my favorite reel I'm in.
Good one.
That's great.
Love it. All right. So this one, Brian, I know you've definitely put some thoughts out there on this topic. So this one's brought to us by 71 Designs. So I'm sure you guys, being on the media side, have ideas on how either, Major League Paintball or the paintball industry as a whole can either expand their reach or more effectively present the sport. So let's hear some of your ideas on how we could be doing better. And let's just start with Brian, because I know he's got some locked and loaded.
So, make the field bigger. I've been telling Tom, and he hears, he knows. I know he's heard. And in Atlantic City, we had an amazing size field for a reason, because we had ESPN there to film a show, and they didn't even take advantage of it, which drives me insane. Like, I got no calls. Like, and this is when I had figured out. This is when I had started going into the get two people in the frame, shoot with a super long lens. I want to stand on the very back line and be able to shoot all the way across. So I have a 200 to 600 Sony lens that I need to get repaired, because I was in Pittsburgh one year and the tripod fell, and it's all out of whack right now. But I need to get that thing fixed. But if I had that thing and I was all the way back, I could get some insane stuff. I'm going to make a YouTube video of the proper way to show paintball, which will be like down the line shots, guys battling, people getting shot, some of the motion tracking on the balls, because it makes it understandable and you can see the paint in the air. So a lot of people are like, well, can we just like use camera tricks to like make a certain color and then have it highlight that color so you can see it flying through the air? Well, you can't do that because there's so many paintballs on the ground. So you just need a very visible paintball, and yes, they'll still be on the ground, but like you can't just like take a color and just highlight that color and then make it like super saturated or whatever. Because then all the ones on the ground, you'll just be like, oh, my eyes. So we just need bigger fields. And I understand, our local fields, they can't be huge because land is very expensive. And there's ways, we have, like I said, I have a scaffolding at Paintball Fit, which is my favorite thing now. I shoot from there most of the time because I can get these shots. I can get the shots with two people in the frame shooting each other, which is what we need to see. It's not that difficult. I know most of these venues. Well, I don't know what kind of venues we have this coming up here. I don't know the space that we have available, but that is the biggest thing. Is give us bigger fields. I know Tom had said he had a fellow who filmed NASCAR came in and said, well, you need bigger fields. And I was like, well, Tom, I've been telling you this. And, I talked to Tom.
Didn't need to pay him.
Yeah. And Tom will be receptive, but, it doesn't always happen. Like, I spend a lot of time doing this. And I give them a lot of stuff. There's no consulting fee. There's none of that. I just want to see paintball, kick ass and be in the biggest spotlight it can be. So, there's a couple small things like big fields that will make a massive difference. And it will take some understanding how to properly film it. But like I said, if you want to know, you just send a message and I'll give you all the sauce that you want.
You're correct on that. I brought it up in a post not that long ago because divisional fields, sometimes they're just horrible and you have no way of actually shooting it the proper way.
Oh,
and
man.
Of course, I'm friends with a lot of the guys that are setting up the venue, and they're like, well, we just can't. I'm like, I'm looking at the net. We have like an extra 15 feet on like each corner on every single field. I'm like, that's what, like, we need more. Like, I can only take the same photo so many times. So like you have to have it. You have to have range.
Yep. And some of those divisional fields are sketchy. If the wind starts blowing, you're pushed. You're standing inbounds. There's nothing you can do because the net is so strong with that wind behind it. So you have no choice but to be in the field of play. I forget where I was, but I set up and the ref was like, you're on the field. And I was like, well,
where's the sideline?
Well, yes, I'm on the field. Like there's no, I'm not that strong to push this net back with this wind behind it. So yeah, that absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, those those divisional fields where like the start box is like right up against the back net, which is right up against the other start box on the other side of that net. It gets brutal for sure. Yeah, I guess.
I want to throw something in there too. With having the fields like that super close, I have seen some crazy things with paintballs flying over the net
Mhm.
and landing on players. The one that stands out in my mind was Bunkerfest, and it was Team 13, I believe, and it was Q. He was in a 1v1, and he was in like the home or something, and the guy was coming at him, and a ball from the other field comes over, bam, lands on the top of his loader, breaks, right? Like it was a break. Ref called him out. The other guy wasn't even shooting. And I wasn't filming this, unfortunately, because I was waiting for Greed to step on the field for their in the next set. But I just watched this and I was like, oh my goodness. And the ref, right? He did what the guy was hit by a paintball, but the other guy wasn't even shooting. And that's just wild. So I wonder, I've seen some crazy things. So let me throw in another one real quick. It was at when it was at Giant Party Sports, the Dallas event, that most ridiculous layout. It was Chad George running to the right on the pro field. Who knows what Snake and Dorito side? I guess to the right would be Snake from there. And a ball just came flying over the nets, like way from the sky, from the heavens. Bam, just landed on his pack. And Timmy the ref called him out. And that was, he was shot by a paintball. But that ball was not from that field. That was from like.
There's Jeremy Solomon in the trees.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
The
At least
sniper,
somebody knows that story. Yeah.
Yep. And I was just
I can't say I like paintball history and not know that.
Right. And I was just like, oh my goodness. So I know we can't maybe do much about the proximity of divisional fields and how crazy paintballs are. Paintballs do crazy things. Like I've watched a lot of paintball. I still think I watch more paintball than anyone. And I still see paintballs doing things I've never seen them do before. And I'm like, what? So
any flying object will. Just
right.
They do weird shit.
Right, especially with the inconsistencies that there are. Like it could be the shell, it could be the fill, it could be all kinds of different things. The weather conditions, the humidity in the air,
The markers that the D5 players have never cleaned. Stuff like that.
yeah.
And shooting birds, guys.
Could be a piece of dust in the barrel that just like sends it. Who knows,
Right.
some crazy trajectory. But yeah. So the size of fields is number one.
All right, for sure. Let's keep moving forward. Dan, you got any advice for the league or for the powers that be?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the size of the field would help for sure. I think for the pro field, if we could figure out a way to get rid of or move that 50 referee scaffolding, it's so hard to get like
it's a sports camera. It's never going to move.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be some way, right? Because there's all the action happens right there, and it's so hard.
The other way is a jib camera.
Boom.
Yeah, in Chicago. So I was that better? I wasn't there for that event. So
no, the thing is with that, like it comes down on top of you a lot, and like sometimes it's just like a random guy that's like operating it. He's just moving the camera up and down. He's not a paintball guy or anything, so he's not paying attention to you.
I've got jib operation experience. I got you, ESPN. Let's get me in there.
There you go. Call it here. And I think the other thing is, and I think we hear this all the time, and we're starting to see a little bit like Dylan's doing more of it, but just more storytelling. That's such a big part that's missing in our sport versus like other sports. People follow baseball or football because someone's got to pay for it.
I mean, that's why I didn't make another one. I would love to. It's just, man, it takes all your time and it gives you very little in return. Verbal did kind of his like vlog series stuff this year, and that's kind of he tell you firsthand as well. It's just putting together 40-minute long videos are a lot.
So something like Fit Life would be about $250,000 to shoot. $250,000 for that, like that extreme level.
We're talking for a season or for an episode?
No, that's for the whole year. So the episodes, so I did it episodically by event, but yeah, that was for a full year. That's about what the going rate would be. That's not even the going rate. That'd be very low. Because I didn't have high quality cameras all the time. I used this camera. By the way, everyone should go buy one of these. This is the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. This is the most insane camera that you can have, and you can, a monkey can operate it. It's so easy to operate. The quality
Cyrus
is
can operate it.
fantastic. And I highly recommend these cameras. But like something like FitLight, like if you want like a production company to come in and do something like that, like for a full year, that's gonna be like $1 million plus. And everyone's like, yeah, well, we should have it for every team. We should, but
Who's
holy
paying for it?
smokes, that is expensive. Like
Mhm.
yeah, I was thinking, I was like, all right, well, what would this have actually cost to do something like this? And I started adding it up, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is the numbers are insane. And it was cool. Like I think it was a really cool thing that I got to do. Like it was a crazy series, and the way I couldn't write the story better. I could have wrote the story better. I would have had them play Dynasty at the end, but Impact is still a pretty cool one as a paid money team versus some Texas boys working at their own
Some
field.
kids.
Yeah, right. Just the story was perfect. So yeah, the people need to understand the cost of these actual things.
Definitely. John?
Go read Jimmy's posts.
So, I mean, kind of like going back in, it does cost a lot. Like when Tom told me what it was costing to have the production team come out and shoot all that, I was just kind of like, man, like this is kind of mind blowing. Like what it really is going to cost us if we want to get it there and to keep that consistent. Like it's definitely not something that we can do. So like I wish more companies would be a little bit more understanding and a little bit more open to having more people work with them, or like showcase or cross brand and like tag. Because I know there's like some of the bigger guys just won't do that, especially with the smaller brands. Because obviously, like we're taking money from them, and that just happens across the board with a lot of the smaller brands. Like you'll see it, and like so that's one of the bad things. Now, one thing, like I positioned this to Tom and Alex last year. I do honestly think that the NX or the Major League Paintball or the NXL should be requiring us media people to have their watermark for every event. Like weird things, like small little things, because like if somebody just sees our photo, they don't know where that was. They don't know when it was, where it was, why it was, nothing. Now, like if we can make sure it's there, now obviously people can crop it out. It's just a stepping point. Like if the league could say, hey, it's not a guarantee, but we do have more media people that are going to be at these set fields, and like maybe hire some of the people that are a little bit newer coming into the this whole environment. It could be a great opportunity for both the league to have more option, to have better exposure. They'll have more content. And then, of course, it's going to bring people up into the paintball industry or just the media industry on the back end. That's just my 2 cents on that.
All right. Don, you got any gripes or just anything that you think that we could be doing better?
Honestly, I like Verbal's approach. Is like when you follow a team and you show the true story behind what it takes to get a team there to the tournament, what they put in, what are the hours. I also like Matt the Gym Rats version where it showcases literally how much he spends, what it takes,
Yeah, it's
what
pretty
he's
cool.
doing to get like to these events and play and to come out to like let's say a second place and not get anything out of it. I mean, we all know this is expensive. It's not gonna, come out to a multimillionaire anytime soon. But personally, this past year, I have had the opportunity to follow Texas Demo in the first year of semi-pro and interview them after each tournament, which that will come out sometime soon. But like Verbal said, like if someone gets like these Osmos Pocket 3s, like I am planning to do like a vlog series next year with Uno's Jerky or myself where it just follows me and my vlog and my perspective of paintball and how I go about it and putting the showcase of like paintball. And let's say if it's possible, right? If you're in a team and you want to just record your life of like paintball and putting your lifestyle of paintball out there more, if we got each team to just show their side of the perspective of paintball, it would mind-blowingly blow up and just get a lot more views into the paintball world. Whereas in like it's only a handful of media people or some people that vlog. Like it's
Yeah.
just it's
It.
it's amazing.
Sorry, not to cut you off.
No, go
I
for it.
told Tom they should require the pro teams and maybe the semi-pro teams to have to do so much media content at the events,
Yeah, I said
tagging
that
the
too.
league and like going forward, because at the end of the day, like it's us that can only make this grow. Like the league and the big guys are only going to do like, you know, what they can do, and like their hands are kind of tied. But if we get everyone else involved, it's going to grow.
Yeah,
Right? Like it just can't be like, oh, you know, it's only what this you know, this company gets to say because, you know, they're the big sponsor, so like we can only show their content. No, like everyone's showing everything because it's required now.
Yep.
Yeah, I said that for Tom too. I was like, for any pro team, there should be a requirement, right? Like they've already got to pay different fees and branding fees. Like there should be a social media or content package that they have to agree to. Because some of these teams don't even have a social media account. Like
It's
I'm not going
crazy.
to bring anyone on the bus, but there's a few top tier teams that don't even post anything for the last year or so.
And yes, I would love for them to use us, but they also have cell phones.
Exactly.
Like yeah, and like I've had issues where pros couldn't even take photos in the jerseys I was supplying them. And I'm like, you guys all have iPhones in your hands. Like if I walk into the pits and you guys are all just on your phones, but you're not sending me the photo, come on, guys. Like we got to do this. It helps everyone, because if I can sell your gear, then I'm going to give you guys money. You know,
Right, for
and the
sure.
league, same thing for the league.
Yep, and Sal's saying the same thing in the chats. League should require pro teams to have a minimum post count. Yeah,
Yeah.
simple things like that. So how about you, Ryan?
I don't have all that much more to add to this. Oh yeah, I did want to give a shout out to Alex Sorensen, the new media liaison at the NXL. My first pro NXL event, I went into the media tent, and when it was just me and the past guy in that job, he told me I was never going to film another pro NXL event again. That was my first ever, time going back and filming in 2021. So that, very, very encouraging. When people say that to me, I say, fuck you, watch me. And so, yeah, I've been here ever since. But what I wanted to do and bring that story up is contrast that to now and how Alex is running the operation over there. I think he's doing a very good job for letting people get a chance to do media on the pro field who may not have gotten that before. The fact that teams now have an actual media pass to their name, they can bring someone on, they can hire someone to do media just for them. That's how Verbal shot on the pro field all year. So there are more options now for more people to get on there, as well as more media to come out through that. Could it be better? Yeah, probably. Do I know exactly what to say to make it better right now? No. But, I do want to at least point out that I think him and Tom are going in, the right direction of giving more access to people and letting more content get out there from the pro side, which, I know there's always that debate. Everyone wants there to be the divisional media, but, I look at people like myself who, when I grew up online, there wasn't divisional media. I didn't watch divisional paintball. There was great teams during that era. I just didn't know about them because, they didn't have a brand online during that time. It's easier than ever now for your divisional team to go out there and do it yourself, hire media, start having someone post consistently on social media. But yeah, so I think there always will be a reason that we elevate these guys who make it to this, pro grand stage. And I know that upsets divisional players out there, but I think there is a difference. There is a brighter spectacle and a brighter spotlight that gets shown on those matches.
Alex crushed it. So yeah, +1 for Alex on the NXL media. He's doing such a great job with the brand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Right. To Ryan's point on the whole, like, hey, divisional guys want more divisional media. Like, hey, we've got to earn it. Like,
yeah, you got to pay for it or get a good sponsor that's going to back you. Like, it doesn't come, especially at national events. Like, it costs a lot for us guys. Like, if we're driving out,
we got to walk 1.5 miles just to get to your field.
Yeah, but it's just the hotel, flying out, the equipment. Like, guys, these higher end guys are spending like $2+ grand if they're not getting things comped for them. So like, for us to go out there, it has to be worth it. A lot of us are just going out there because it's just a love of the game. So like, and Alex, like you guys are saying, like Alex has been doing an amazing job. The fact that I can text him or like I sent him the new designs for the new bibs for next year, like with the pockets. Yes, there's pockets, 3 pockets on the front. And I removed the pocket on the top, and I changed the sizing down so it should fit a little bit better. But like, he responds. So like, it's really nice. Before, I didn't have that. Like, it was really hard to get responses or get things done in a timely manner because the last person just wasn't that way. So like, he's doing a really good job, and I think the league is starting to realize, like, we have to listen to the young guys. The young guys are kind of figuring out, not to be mean, I know we got some gray hair guys in here, but I'm in my mid-30s. But it's going to come up to like people like Matt the Gym Rat, like influencers, like people that aren't really like stuck to one brand but have like sponsors that can actually go back out. So like, think if we had an Oliver Lang right now doing social media engagement that had a couple million followers. Our sport would be completely different. I can't think of a pro player that's doing that. And there could be one. I'm sorry, but I sit on
you off because like, shout out to the Play the Game guys and the Spin Span guys. I mean,
well, that's their podcast,
of
but I'm
pros
saying
who are doing that. No,
showing a lifestyle.
I think the closest guy would be Ronnie, but he's not.
But,
yeah.
Dizon does it as well.
Yeah,
I think there are examples of it out there, and so that's why I don't want to lay this blanket statement of like, oh, you guys need to do this.
No, that's never said. But if we had
agree,
more.
it needs to. Yes, it does need to happen more. And guys need to look to these. You may not like them personally, but go watch Spick and Span show and kind of take from that. What do Ryan and Kyle do to promote themselves in their lives? And if you're a pro player, you should also be doing that because people will start to listen and give a shit. I think they have a great example for players like them to kind of follow into. Yeah, they have built-in audiences, I will say, when you've been playing the sport for 20 years, that helps. But it's a good example at least.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like to John's point, like I can count on one hand the number of professional players that are consistently putting out like paintball, like on the field or lifestyle content, like outside of the podcast, which there are several, but like on one hand, specifically players in the pro division, it's like you've got Ronnie Dizon, Jackson Frey, and those are really the main two as far as I can think. And like,
but
Ronnie,
you guys have legacies.
You gotta throw Harrison in there. Like, I think
if
we're just talking
about
video
legacy
content,
players,
then those two. But honestly, like Harrison Fry does a great job of always kind of posting his travels, posting where he's going, what he's doing.
Yeah, and those are the young guys. Like this is the new generation of paintball player, and we need more of these guys doing it because they can show the lifestyle that paintball can bring you and the challenges, but the love. So like. What I'm getting to is that
Kyle Berry's also doing a great job as a younger player as well.
Yeah, exactly. So like if we had, and I told Tom Cole this, I was like, think about New York Wrecking Crew. Yeah, Wrecking Crew. I was like, think if you guys own that story from the very beginning after they won they won D4, and you guys started filming them, and you had all this content to tell a story about these young kids. I go, because then you could send this to somebody saying like, hey, we can go after the youth now because we have this whole story about these young kids that stayed together and now they're about to play professional paintball in a year.
And Wrecking Crew does have a guy that has been following them all season long.
Yeah, I think it's planning.
It's God Films.
job.
God Films has been following him, and he's been doing a phenomenal job, like putting out videos, like recapping essentially every single major league event. But like, that's like I can count on two hands the number of guys, and there's like 200 players in the pro division alone, and most of like the top media creators aren't pro. It's Matt the Gym Rat's semi-pro, like, you know, this the God Films following New York Wrecking Crew, that's semi-pro. Like, as far as like
it's also I think that the conversation gets a little skewed in the fact that most of these pros, they aren't pro in paintball. They're pro legal paralegals. They're pro, you know, blue collared workmen. They're not like, yes, they may earn bonus income here, even the ones who are being paid, but very few of them are that top echelon where they can devote their whole life to this game and doing things for this game. A lot of them clock in the 2 weekends before the event and the weekend of the event and then disappear until the next layout drops. That's just the reality right now of where these pros are at. Should it be different? I do agree.
You can be blue collar and still have a full year series, as Paintball Fit does, just because they don't put their face out there for everything. Each one's brand. I don't know. Cyrus is about to start a vlog for himself.
I'm excited for that.
But you know, they've done it right, but they also have the proper people around.
They are also very much involved in paintball. A lot of them, you know, work at the field, and that's, you know, their lives are paintball.
It's still blue collar ass work. Like,
no. And I'm not taking away from them, but I think my point goes for, like, I don't know, we do have like marketing guys and stuff in the professional paintball league. I feel like a lot of those guys clock in doing the thing they've loved since they were a kid, and then kind of clock out when the events are over, and, you know, go back to their regular world and focus on that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I would definitely love to see more like of the pro teams doing something like what Fit's doing with Brian, like having a media person like make a series or make some sort of content, like be
you've covered them.
Well, I mean, just Fit, why are they an outlier and not the example, you know?
I mean, Verbals, literally you've covered them. So like, yeah, no, they're good, but I just mean a lot of the pros in general, you know, especially when I spent my time around DMG, a lot of them, you know, very little of what money they made came from this game. So
yeah,
you know, it ended up getting less time because of that.
We got to look at it as our closest cousin, which is motocross. So like these guys that, like, I know a ton of motocross guys that work like, you know, some jobs inside the industry or something else, but like they do showcase their whole life. And it's like, if you have something to tell, like, because we're in that, like, that point now, like, if we could tell a story, for instance, like Ryan Greenspan, when he posts like he's going like surfing and then he does snowboarding and then he's at the paintball field, that is crazy, dude. And like, if you had a person following you for the day and it's like life, you know, day in the life of Ryan Greenspan, and it's like, yo, this guy's what, 40 some odd years old.
How many times in a year though is he actually going surfing, snowboarding, and then playing?
I know, but like it's like a Red Bull commercial. Like you see something crazy, it happens once or twice, but it's a view grabber, and that's what paintball needs. Like like if like people have already made fun of it on TikTok, they're like, oh, every time I see a paintball player, it's just them spilling paint or sliding into a bunker.
So
and
now
it's like,
we just need you know, more shirtless videos of Blake Yarber and those guys just playing paintball. I think that I'm picking it up. I got you. I'm here now. I'm gonna repost what I have.
No, we don't need that.
Paintball calendars. I got it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So I'm looking at the clock here. We're approaching 2.5 hours into this show, so I think we're gonna start to shut it down here. So just we got three sponsors here that we didn't get to their questions. So I want to give a quick shout out to Hydra, to Get That Shot. Carlos wasn't available to be on the show this evening, but shout out to you, Carlos. And then Compete, which is Jell Stewart's brand. So guys, real quick before we head out, just go ahead and give us final any sort of shout outs that you guys want to make for anybody out there. Don, let's start with you.
I actually have a few upcoming photographers from local, the Shaka Shots and Lux Leaf Studios. They're really good. They're coming out. They're amazing. They're they're working up. That's amazing. From out of town that I've met personally from California, I have Ragtag Media, Kellogg Photos, Erics and Maddie, Google God, Goggle God, and Go Sports Media. Those guys are killing it. I think they're in the upcomes. Yeah.
All right, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, appreciate being on here. Thank you, Christian, for the invite. If you guys want to follow me, keep hearing me talk, go watch us on From the Sidelines on my YouTube channel. Got it on audio as well. Just search up From the Sideline. But yeah, no, it's been a fun show. I mean, there's a lot more we could talk about. I think at the end of the day, a lot of it comes down to money. Comes down to putting money in the right people's hands. And it's, it sounds so, I don't know, kind of defeatist, but that's just the way the world is. The best things in life were made with a good amount of funding behind them. Everyone wants us to have a drive to survive type moment. Well, we need to get drive to survive money first. But I think the industry as a whole is growing, and I think it is expanding, especially since when I jumped back in 2020. It's been nothing but growth in those years. Where that leads us to, I don't fully know. But fingers crossed, it's something bigger and better. And yeah, that ESPN money comes. I know Tommy's waiting on it. That's the way out of this old broadcast TV that no one watches anymore.
Please
yeah.
don't.
But yeah, so yeah, no, that's it for me. I guess shout out real quick, Brandon and Hatch, my two boys on the podcast. Appreciate them, and I know Pooey was in here for a little bit earlier, so yeah, shout out to them.
All
All
right,
I died.
Brian.
All right. Well, let me shout out the guys always in the trenches with me is Yosh and No Soul Studios. They're always out there. And I'll give shout outs to my two sons, which are No Soul Studios and Get That Shot Carlos. They've always asked a lot of questions, and I've given them the full knowledge that I have, which has passed down to a next generation, which is super cool. In Dan Shelley with Carlos, that's like that's wild to hear. I love hearing that. But they say when you're a master when you have taught another master, and I feel I have given some of that out. So also shout out to Paintball Fit for giving me a super dope spot to always create at. Hydra Fit, all my boys there. My wife for putting up with this, for letting me go do these things, because I miss my babies all the time. But I mean, shout out to anyone in the media getting out there and doing it. We can tell the stories, and yeah, go do it.
I gotta give one more shout out because he added me in chat. Shout out to our boots on the ground correspondent, Lastro Lopez. He's Lastro Lopez. Sorry, he's the fourth member of From the Sidelines broadcast studio, and he was very upset he didn't get a shout out. So I had to sneak that in there. Sorry, Dan.
All right, Dan.
I've got a few. I think firstly, the plug for me personally is I just started a podcast, the Shellda podcast, and got a lot of cool things lined up. I had Sal Chavez in this week, who we got like an incredible look into his mind and his process shooting for Dynasty. So definitely check that out. I have ABJ coming on for next week's episode, and it is crazy. So stay tuned for that. And then shout out to
internet drop out for you, or was that just a From the Sideline special?
Just a From the Sideline special.
So I can give him shit next time I see him. All right.
Exactly. Yeah. And then shout out to Sal again, Junior Brown and Gina Brown from BFP Gear. They signed on for a sponsor for that. So to think that I had like a big brand as a sponsor of my podcast was just wild right off the rip. And then I've got to give a huge shout out to my wife Amanda. She's been in here all night, in the chat, and she's so supportive of me being away on Sundays and going to the events with me, and sitting there in the grueling sun and heat, just watching paintball all day. So I couldn't do this crazy journey without her.
For sure. All
and
right.
Lastro Lopez too. Sorry.
All right, John.
I already took him, Dan. I already took him. Doesn't count.
I'll keep it short and sweet. So I'd like to give a shout out to my buddy Austin Glover. He's a local guy. He's been putting in some work. It's actually been showing. He's one of those guys. He always asks me questions. Kind of be annoying. I tell him to Google it, but then I give him the answer. It's just it's kind of cool to see somebody progress over just a short period of time. Also, big shout out to my buddy Thomas Doe. He's another media guy that did paintball for a short time, but now just has a huge media studio downtown and everything. It's crazy to see somebody. He's 24 years old and just living out his dream doing media work. And the last guy is I Shoot Paintball, which is also my buddy Tucker Harris. He's actually the editor of Diesel World magazine. So if you ever see any of those truck magazines out there, that's my buddy Tucker. He's a really cool guy. He's always there when I can count on him. If I need something camera related question that I just can't figure out, or my settings are off because I have something new, he just fixes it. So I'm all right, thanks, man. So he's a really cool guy. He's real humble. He's doing the work. So just like to give those guys a shout out.
All right.
Also,
I got one more. Hang on. Let me throw out 88 Films. Nigel D'Souza doing some insane stuff with film. This is some beautiful stuff. He's got a new book coming out soon too. Go get your pre-order in. But he does some stuff that's just next level. Super nice guy. Just beautiful stuff. Just man, that
film is a different level of right. It's hard to express how difficult what he's doing is. So very well earned.
Right. Yep. Video is very hard. Film is impossible, if you will. Yeah. So big shout out to Nigel, 88 Films.
He's playing paintball with MagFed, essentially.
Right. Yeah. At NXL.
I do have one more shout out. My girlfriend, she supports me a lot with this. It's backing up everyone, it's just the backing up, our lifestyle is it's a whole hectic family, always keeping us on the toes. And the USXBL and local events, WC, shout outs to them. And Uno's jerky, best jerky I've tasted.
Don't forget our
Amazing.
Lord and Savior Tom Cole, guys. Okay, we have to
I was
thank
wondering
him.
what that
Without
was
Tom
earlier.
Cole,
That is Tom. Okay.
none
Love it.
of this can happen.
Can happen
So
without him.
That's got to be on a t-shirt.
If we're also giving cool
yeah, it
shout-outs-
actually I have it on a T-shirt. I have micros. Usually you see stickers at the events, so usually just find me and I have them.
his car windshield usually has that as well.
Yeah, that's usually the front windshield of the van at the events.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
Love
no,
it.
he's a good sport about it.
Another cool person to shout out real quick too. I got some art from him behind me, but Clint Riddle. I have the Joy of Paintball sitting there, and then one of his pieces. One of the media people in paintball who does completely different than everyone else, and everything he does is very unique and interesting. So, I think it's Riddle Art or something. I can't remember his name. But yeah, so definitely shout out to Clint as well. He's a cool dude.
I talked to Dan recently. It was really good.
Yeah, it was a good podcast. Yeah.
All right, guys. So I think that does it for this show. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you guys for coming on the show. This was an absolute juggernaut of an episode, 2.5 hours here, and I feel like we could have covered so much more if we had the time. If you're listening, please go follow every single one of these creators. That's at Verbhal, at Mafia _Moffat, at Shellda Photos, at Ruthless PB, and at a.f.g_filming, all on Instagram. What other guests would you all like to see on the show? Leave a comment down below. Hit that subscribe button. The show goes live weekly here on youtube.com/@inthepitspaintballpodcast, and recordings are posted the next day to YouTube, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. One more quick shout out for my partner and sponsor tier subscribers. Get That Shot, Paintball Kumite, Compete, BEM Raps, Hydra, XTPL Events, Mariachi Águilas de Oro, San Antonio 3v3, Series 71 Designs, TexanHemp.com, and QBRofficial.com. So, guys, this was the first roundtable I've done since episode 87, and I've been meaning to do more of these. It's just like this season, there's been so many great stories and things to cover throughout the year. It just kind of got away from me. So expect more roundtables during the off season. Yeah, and we'll see you next week for episode 127. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you.
So yeah, thank you, Christian.